Hello and welcome to episode 21 of the Blob Watch. Now tonight I am joined with I guess the reoccurring guest lineup that we have at the moment. So we got Pman. Good evening.
Hello everyone.
Hello. And we have Zenn, who is I guess like the newbie, the rookie to our little circle.
What up?
And of course another fellow I guess we're YouTubers now, aren't we? Well,
I don't want to use that word, but go on.
yeah, fellow content creator
with that.
and reoccurring guest Joz. How are you, sir?
Evening, gents. I'm doing pretty good. Yeah.
Right, and so tonight we're talking about the I guess two things, because I want to condense it, because a lot of the stuff that I say we're going to talk about we never actually get on to talking about, because we just spend too much time talking about freaking Star Wars or who said what to who on Twitter or anime waifus or whatever the hell. So
I'm banning any mentions of anime waifus.
Yeah, I know there's going to be an outburst. So this is why I've included, if people will notice, in the top right hand corner an image of Saint, I think it's Saint Wilfrid, one of the Saxon saints, to keep away impure thoughts from this stream. So
that wards off both Twitter and anime. I love it.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and so tonight we are obviously we're going to have to talk about the two main stories, which I've sort of been talking about on Twitter, that I've been seeing going around on Twitter, because everyone's talking about it at the same time. Everyone's sort of not really talking about it. And so first of all, it's going to have to be what's going on north of the border in Scotland, and what's going on with the SNP, Nicola Sturgeon, Sam, and the Scottish government, and I guess and the Scottish Civil Service. So for those that don't know, not living in the country, Scotland has its own devolved parliament. It's a big mistake, shouldn't have got it. Nonetheless, they've got their own devolved parliament, and Scottish law and everything. It's separate from what you got rest of the UK. And they have their own elections, they have their own representatives in the Scottish Parliament, and it has sort of semi-devolved powers when it comes to spending and matters that go on within Scotland itself. And in 2007, the SNP had a breakthrough, and then under Alex Salmond, and then it had another breakthrough in 2011 when it became the largest party and had a majority. And then, of course, you had the independence referendum, but I guess the pro-union side won that referendum. But the SNP, because they garnered a lot of support from it, they would have a sizable chunk of the population, roughly between, I guess, 30% and 50%, would consistently vote for them up until till now, until this point in time. And then in 2000 and I want to say 16, Alex Salmond resigned as leader of the SNP, and his protege Nicola Sturgeon took over the reins, and she went into an election and won convincingly. And so what you've had is this period of pro SNP period where they've had the benefit of fucking up north of the border and blaming it at Westminster. And because the devolution settlement between UK and Scotland is so complex, most people don't even understand where responsibilities for certain laws lie. And so in many ways, and the Labour Party do this in Wales as well. So you have the situation where you can just say to the electorate, "Oh, the UK government, Westminster's failing because of this," and then actually, if you look into it, 9 times out of 10, a lot of the things that these like the SNP or Labour are saying is actually decided by the devolved parliaments, which are controlled by, you guessed it, Labour or the SNP.
Yes. I think all this. So I'm about as close to. I mean, none of us are Scottish, are we?
No.
No, I'm about as close to Scottish as I can be. I'm like almost at the border, effectively, and I didn't know any of this. So I Count Dankula's old video where he's sort of taking the piss out of like an SNP advert. He goes a lot into like all the stuff that they've technically done and what they haven't done. So I've been trying to find it actually so I could reference it, but I think YouTube might have come for that video, which is a shame. It was a good one.
I guess the thing with that party as well, as you say, they got up a lot of support with the independent stuff. That's because they're the only explicitly independent party in Scotland, as far as I'm aware. They just so happen to be the sort of crazy far left ones, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean,
because they offer that, they get a lot of support that they might not do normally with the rest of their policies.
Yeah.
What I want to say about all this is that I'm very, very upset about all this because I'm having to stick up for Alex Salmond.
Indeed.
I think we all feel that way.
Yeah. Effectively, and also like I mean, for me, like on a party wise, I'm now in the same camp as George Galloway. So
I know, right?
it's like double disappointing at this stage.
Do you want to explain who George Galloway is?
George. So any American or European or whoever who doesn't live in the UK, and
I'm going to need this one, to be honest. I'm too young.
Okay, so in the early 2000s,
he's a little bit before our times, then, yeah.
Yeah, in the 90s and the 2000s, Galloway was part of the radical socialist left. So he was pretty much like the Bernie Sanders of.
I know he supported a lot of like Islamist stuff.
Yeah, and when Blair came in, and you had the Blairite agenda, where basically, let's pretend to be conservatives and move to the right and be tough on crime, and what have you. And so what you had was a situation where the radical left were not able to voice and to influence Labour Party because a lot of them were getting kicked left, right, and centre.
Yeah, imagine Blair is Biden and Galloway is Sanders.
Yeah, pretty much. But Blair was far more competent than Biden.
Blair competent, obviously, in what he did, not that what he did was good, because it was
competent doesn't. Yeah, competent doesn't necessarily mean good. It just means
it's hard to put into words how much damage that man did.
Yeah. I mean,
competent yet evil. It's kind of like you can have the word evil genius. That's what it is.
Yeah, he's as close to an evil mastermind the UK's really had.
What you had was when the Iraq War happened, it angered a lot on the left because a good pull back in the day when the left had principles. They were one thing that they were all very much united around was they were anti-war. And I remember, I don't know if any of you guys remember, probably some of you might be too young. I remember the anti-war protests in London. I remember the anti-war protests in my town at the time in Devon. I remember it was a massive thing that people were dead against it because even then there was skepticism around the idea that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. But at the same time, it was like, okay, he's got weapons of mass destruction, but how is that our problem? Ultimately, because at that time, bit of context, at that time, we were meant to be fighting Al Qaeda, the people who could, and Osama bin Laden, who attacked the World Trade Centers a couple of years beforehand. And it was like, okay, but how does invading Iraq and taking out Saddam, who was one of the most anti-Islamist figures in the Middle East. Bearing in mind he was a dictator and he
was a fucking brutal dictator. Yes,
he was a brutal dictator. He was a tyrant. He killed thousands of innocent people and ethnic cleansing against Kurds and everything. No one's denying that. I'm not saying he's a good guy. I definitely wouldn't. I wouldn't go out and party with him, Joss. I wouldn't go out to a party with him.
It sounds like a right laugh.
Yes,
wasn't it his son or his nephew who had a habit of like driving around and finding brides and just raping them?
Oh, isn't this actually one of the ones Dan Kill did a Mad Lads on?
Potentially, yes.
I think he had like a body double who got shot like 3 times.
Yeah, Uday Hussein. Yeah, I mean
that's the one. Yeah.
So going back to George Galloway.
Sorry.
He was part of this anti-war protest. There was also a lot of Labour on the left. I think even Corbyn and co were part of the anti-war protests at the time. Mm-hmm. And what you had this really strange thing going into elections in like 2004 and 5, where a large percentage of the Labour voting constituent, aka British Muslims, were not going to be voting Labour. A lot of them went to Lib Dems. A lot of them went to, sort of other parties at the time. I think this is when you had like Greens started having breakthroughs and such. But what you had was Galloway. He set up the Respect Party, which was
anti party I've ever heard.
Yeah, it was anti-war. It was very much it was anti-war, but what made it really funny was the party was the combination of the activist base and the voter base being Muslim, very conservative Muslim, but the hierarchy of the party being Marxist, Leninist, Trotskyite academic.
So funny.
That was so weird because I remember there was like a whole, because he obviously got elected in Bradford of all places, no surprise there. But there was a whole like conspiracy about was he or was he not a Muslim for
people actually thought he might have converted.
Yeah, and the trouble is, a lot of the people, like the councillors, because this was like all in Bethnal Green, by the way, but he was elected, I think, also in Bradford as well. So there was like it was across England. There was there was one particular councillor who was very much pro-Taliban at the time.
I might also add George Galloway is Scottish, which is how this is kind of relevant to.
Yeah, he's Scottish as well. Yeah, he is Scottish.
Sorry, I forgot we might want to mention that part.
Yeah, so this side is relevant. Anyway, yeah, so I'll just wrap this bit up. So basically what's happened with him is he's sort of the Respect Party stuff didn't work because the left, it turns out to, shock horror, apparently Marxist, Leninist, atheist academics don't get on with socially conservative Muslims. Who would have thought? So the party fell apart pretty quickly. In 2010, the Labour Party pretty much just steamrolled and regained all the lost council seats and that one constituency in Bradford that I mentioned earlier. And he was left, in a party which, the Marxist lot were leaving on drove, and the Muslims were leaving on drove. And I think it doesn't exist anymore. It just sort of folded on itself. And so what you had was he was left, I guess, in sort of political wilderness because he couldn't rejoin the Labour Party, or he didn't want to rejoin the Labour Party. And so he started doing media work. He
had a radio show, didn't he?
He did a radio show. He did a documentary on Tony Blair, which is actually quite good, to be honest. It's quite good because it actually does show like how shady Blair really is. Like, it's actually quite scary. And he did a radio show. He did with Sputnik. I think Russia Today as well. He did like his own show on there. And he sort of built up I guess there's like an audience base from there, and what made him quite interesting in my mind was he became quite pro-Trump. He started engaging with the culture war, and he started seeing he started seeing like from left and the political spectrum today of just left and right. He was seeing it between more globalist and I guess nationalist in the sense of.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who to compare him to in America. It's like if you cross Bernie Sanders with Alex Jones.
Yeah, that's the sort of flip he's done. And so, and that's how he sees everything at the moment. He was on the side of Brexit. He was on the side of Trump, and
he told Ashar to leave the country.
Yeah, I mean
base to sell.
Pretty much.
It sounds like he'd get along. It sounds like he'd get along quite well with Nigel Farage, to be honest.
He did. He did. They were together with the what's it Grassroots Out campaign. They were always together.
They were together, and also I think he was a subscriber to the Brexit Party as well. If I remember correctly, because Farage wanted the Marxists in the party. But
what was she called? The Marxist woman,
Claire Fox.
Claire Fox, that's the one.
Claire Fox, yeah. And so
I've not heard more about him, to be honest. In that case,
he has kind of slunk into the shadows for a long time, like since the Iraq War stuff.
Yeah, but while this has all been going on, the SNP dominated. Became one-party state in Scotland. Won all the seats near enough, and
it is insane how much domination they have. It is literally 1 year. It was they had every single seat except the Tories, Labour, and Lib Dem each got 1 seat apiece in Scotland. Everything else was insane.
It's ridiculous. And these guys, I mean. The SNP are, shall we say that they're kind of, they have themselves as nationalists. They market themselves as nationalists because they want Scottish independence. But they are also pretty fucking socialist. So that combination of, should we call it social nationalism?
National.
I like selective nationalism.
Yeah, I mean, didn't Sturgeon try to rebrand them because of that? Yeah. They realised, oh god, we can't be nationalists in 2020.
Yeah, we did a stream on this months ago. Yeah, I mean, they're not nationalists, but they
brand themselves as nationalists.
You realise that stream is nearly a year old now.
Is it really? How time flies when you're in lockdown.
I tell you what. I tell you what. Can you show this? Can you just post this onto the stream?
I'll tell you what. I will include it in the link below after it's all.
All right.
It's all done because oh god, I've got to share this image that Zenn's just sent over. Okay,
there should be a way to actually bring it up on the screen.
Sorry.
There should be a way to bring it up. I think StreamYard should have just an option where it'll just show it. There we go.
Can you zoom in a bit?
I can't.
It'll do. It's
right.
fine.
Yeah. Sorry, my screen's quite small. Yeah, that's amazing. That's pretty accurate to what I seem to want.
Yeah. So basically, So just finish up with George Galloway. He's massively against the SNP because he doesn't believe in independence. Because he, unionist.
Cares about the union. Yeah,
he prefers the union. He sees more solidarity between workers of both, whether you're in England or Scotland and everything. Because he still has some social, still have Marxist and socialist principles, but he is this time he's created a political party called the Alliance for Unity Party or something along those lines, and he is standing, got candidates standing across the and this is what you got in Scotland, because Scotland has this really funny election system. You have regional votes, which is basically PR. So let's look at the Scottish regions, and then you have direct constituency votes. He's not standing in the constituencies, but he's doing the region stuff. So what he's said is where he lives in Scotland, he's going to vote for the Conservative candidate in the constituency vote. And then in the regional vote, he's going to vote for I guess himself in the regional vote.
Does that make sense?
Which makes sense, yeah. So that's the big shock, because he's basically telling people now to go vote Conservative, vote Tory. He's saying, I want you all to, I can't do a Scottish accent, but he's basically saying in his last radio show, I want you all to go out and vote Tory in Scotland, or just vote Tory like double votes if you need to vote.
Which is insane coming from him. It's like Bernie Sanders coming out saying go vote Republican.
Yeah, basically.
I mean,
like,
it is clever though. I mean, I hear too many bloody people who are anti-SNP who are just like, oh, I'll never vote Tory, or just I won't vote anyone. But it's like, come on, do you want the SNP just to dominate you?
I think Dankula has spoken about this. He's literally like family members. He's got like, yeah, the SNP is shit. What the fuck do you mean you voted Tory?
Yeah, it's frustrating because it's kind of like they are, to me, the least worst option in Scotland. Now the Tories are in Scotland even further to the left than they are in England. But the reality is that the SNP will literally destroy the Scottish identity and the Scottish kind of nation.
And the political world's fucked.
And the Tories at least are somewhat opposing like things like the free speech kind of what's it called, the hate crime laws.
I mean, at least they stopped the racial critical race theory. At least they did that. They stopped that in. I was told.
But in Scotland as well. I mean, we have to remember that every immigrant in Scotland can vote. I believe in national elections. That essentially is taken away the kind of the so-called one of the key things that defines a citizen of a nation is their ability to often vote, and that's what separates them from a non-citizen very often. But the SNP has just completely removed that. And again, let's remember the Tories were against that. So it's these key fundamental parts, just being a Scottish person, that the Conservatives are the only ones now defending in Scotland.
Yeah, and also 16-year-olds can vote as well.
Is that just local, or is that that's not general? Because general's UK wide, it's not Scottish wide.
I'm pretty sure that's just in Scotland.
Yeah, it's just in Scotland. It's not in UK elections. You have to be still over 18 or over, and you have to be a UK national. You can't be. I think it's like a UK and maybe an Irish Republic or something like that. You know. But yeah, you have to be. You can't if you're like French or something, or Nigerian. You can't vote in UK election. The only thing is, and I spoke to Tailed about this actually, one of the previous streams. He did say there is like a double edge to this. Like, number one, a lot of the immigrants who go to Scotland still, like, say from like Asia or Africa, they still view Scotland as part of the UK. So a lot of them don't understand the nationalist stuff, so they just vote for like names that they recognise, like so Conservative, Labour. So they sort of still will vote in that line, or a lot of them will just leave Scotland as soon as they get there because they realise the better job prospects south of the border. So yeah. It's not like and this is the thing, because I think there is I think there is like an element of the SNP, because if you actually look at SNP statistics on their BAME, the people like the Black and Asian minority people who vote for them, it's really low. So maybe inviting all these immigrants over and allowing them to vote might have like a negative effect on them, which would be really hilarious if that's the case. But
yeah, so if people don't know, because it's really not brought up that much in politics anymore, at least not in global politics, they did get their vote and they horrifically failed at it. Well, actually, no, it was kind of close, wasn't it?
It was 45-55%. Actually,
yeah, so similar loss to what the Brexit was a win, but they did lose it.
It's quite a bit bigger, but yeah, I get what you mean.
It's the same order of magnitude, though, is what I mean.
Yeah,
I'll just bring up the results so people could see on. People could see like on what scale they lost the results. Let me just bring up the BBC article. Hang on a sec.
I mean, we should also shout out that we did also do another stream on the State of the Union a few weeks ago. So
we did. We did. I think Zenn, you were there as well, were you?
Was I? There? I'm not sure.
No, I don't think Zenn was there.
I know I was here for another Blob Watch, but I don't think it was for State of the Union.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So this was. I can't bring up the map. I can't bring up the map a bit bigger, but this is basically. Green is for yes for independence, and then the red is for no.
Oh wow. I didn't realize that it was that like. Again, it's not like unanimous. Each one of those regions was like fairly like close-ish, but it was just basically a quite obvious like majority.
Pretty much. I mean, like, let's just see. Okay, so look at the areas that. So like the area that voted no the most was the Orkney Islands and Scottish borders, which is not surprising. And then you get down here. One thing I notice is that the larger percentages of no, the largest percentage of no is 67%. But then if you go into the yes bit, it's like 51 to 57, and like 50 Dundee, which is not surprising because they used to vote SNP even before their big wins. But this is the argument that the pro-union make is, well, they had the referendum and the majority voted no. But as you can see, one of the problems you got is like the pro-union. There's like 3 to 5 pro-union parties, and then you have one pro-independence party. And so when it comes to elections, that 44% that vote for independence will, the idea is, they'll just vote for the SNP, which is what they did in 2015. And then because you had about over 1.5 million voting for the SNP, they won all the constituencies first past the post because the vote was split.
Yeah,
and that's how they dominate even to this day. I will say though, in 2017 election, they went from winning 50% of the vote, to winning 37% of the vote, which was a dramatic drop, largely because Nicola Sturgeon was quite useless at that time, but also you had Corbyn, who very much appealed to the radical left in Scotland, which was interesting side effect from that. And also you had Ruth Davidson, who was very popular at that time, so there was a lot of chipping away at the vote from both ends, so that's why they had a big loss. And then of course, last election they regained some of those seats.
Would you be able to bring up the Brexit map as well and show like Scotland particularly on that?
Yeah.
Or am I getting a bit ahead of myself? I'm not sure.
No, it's very similar.
That was why I thought, since we've just had that map up, we could. So, Scotland was a majority Remain as well. So it seems like the majority of Scotland's like populace are very much like status quo. But then I guess that's people in general. The majority of people are status quo.
That's actually interesting. Because I'm not sure how many, as a percentage of nationalists, would have voted to leave or SNP folks. There was
this is the thing. Like, if you go to now, if you look at Murray here that I just brought up, this is a good example. Up until 2016, Murray was one of the areas that voted like 60% SNP, right? Okay, but then if you look at the Brexit vote, it's split nearly 50-50, like pretty much 50-50. And so what that means is there's a certain percentage of SNP voters in this constituency that voted to leave. And then if you go to Aberdeenshire, where again you have a lot of especially up around here, SNP had super majorities of 10,000, nearly 70% of the vote in some cases.
And they're Tory now, aren't they? Them seats.
Sorry.
They're Tory now. Them seats, right?
Yeah, this seat and this seat, they're all Tory now, and that was one of the reasons why they think they're Tory. Same with Angus again. I mean, look, again, this used to be
an Scottish name.
The funny thing is, it used to be a Conservative seat like decades ago, and then it became an SNP seat in the 90s, and it just remained that until well, I think it's an SNP seat now. But yeah, it used to be a solid SNP. And where else? I was going to say. Again, the Highlands as well. Very much SNP heartland in some cases. And you just look at the vote. But then if you go into the more areas where the vote is sort of split sometimes with like Labour and SNP, and you actually see a bit of a thing. So one of the accusations that was said at the time was actually the people who were voting Leave in Scotland, in majority, were actually SNP voters. If you look at core voter groups as a whole, and there does seem to be evidence to suggest that in some cases.
It's funny that if you want to be an independent country, you might actually not want to be shackled to the EU.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, again, like here's now Sterling. Look at the Remain percentage, right? 67%. But a year after this, well, because it's a constituency as well in the UK Parliament, this constituency went Conservative in quite a big way. So you then say, okay, well that means some Conservatives who or some people who voted Remain then went on to vote Conservative. And so this is where you have the dynamic shift in Scotland became very, very interesting. I'll just bring up because I'll talk about the situation with Nicola Sturgeon shortly. I'm just going to bring up the election 2017, so you can see how because when I say because I've been saying I don't think the SNP are going to win as a majority that they think they're going to win. I think it's going to be a bit more. I think it's going to be worse for them this time. So this is the 2017 result in Scotland. So what you see here, this is a year after the Brexit referendum.
I can't believe this was already 3 years ago. Jesus, well, 2.5.
And so what you see is again, so here we go. Murray, 16% swing. So they 16% down 10%. So you see the result of the Brexit referendum happening here in north of the border. Now this is the Bannock and Buchanan, which is the interesting one. 19%, nearly 20% swing. This would be the equivalent, if you're American. Just imagine if Manhattan Island had the 20% swing towards the Republican Party, and the Republicans won it. This is how I remember at the time watching it, and I couldn't. I mean, a lot of Conservatives in the Conservative Party were surprised that we actually won these northeast seats because nobody expected. And then this one, which is Gordon, this was Alex Salmon's seat, and this is going to be relevant later on. And the Conservatives went from basically 10% of the vote in 2015 to 40% of the vote in 2017. 2 years, and that drastic shift happened. Again, it would be like, I don't know, Chicago voting Republican. I mean, that's the equivalent that I can think of.
I remember all this, watching it, and I just could not believe that this had actually happened.
The funny thing about it was, while us, when I say us, like me, and when I was because I was quite active in the Conservative Party at this time, while we were winning north of the border, because Ruth Davidson was somewhat competent, and there we go. There's Sterling, I mentioned earlier. There you see how the collapse the SNP vote. Vote up. But the trouble was, while we gained in Scotland, we actually lost seats in England because Theresa May is highly incompetent. So
everything.
So, like, if you look High Peak there, Labour gained it from the Conservatives as an example, and then you had Canterbury, which was again. Now, I'm not going to talk about fortifying elections, but there was a lot of shady stuff going on in university places.
Yes, there is.
Canterbury is an area where the Labour Party definitely fortified the election.
Well, actually,
I have no comment.
Canterbury, I know, is a very. There's actually 3 different kind of universities there. You've got a Canterbury Christchurch Uni, you've got the University of Kent, and you've actually got an arts kind of uni as well.
Yeah.
So it's all them students. And Canterbury's not a big place. Essentially, it's a town. So essentially, all these kind of people just have concentrated and essentially are now about half the population of the city. Yeah. And essentially, because obviously Corbyn we just got all these people out the vote, it was unsurprising they flipped Canterbury. Although at the time, I genuinely didn't think it would happen just for how long the Tories had kept in power. But if you think about it, though, Canterbury is emblematic of what's gone wrong with the Labour Party in the fact that it's an affluent, wealthy Kent town and a student town. They've won it, and they won it with an increased majority in 2019.
Yeah.
But they've lost in turn the entire Red Bull. It's just a complete cultural change within the party. Is what's so terrible.
So that's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, it was. And I mean, like Bristol as well, which we'll get onto later, when like Bristol Northwest. And this is like Bristol Northwest, by the way, people don't know. That's basically Clifton, which is like the real ultra posh area of Bristol. But again, it's university bit, and I wasn't surprised that it went to Labour at the time. I thought that would happen, but then like they got Jacob Rees-Mogg's seat here, good old Mogg. He held on. And Labour generally thought they were going to take it as well, which I thought was funny. And then Bath is beyond hope. And
they're just fucking deluded if they're going to take Rees-Mogg's seat.
Yeah, and
Bristol's the other thing we're talking about today, right?
Yeah, that's Bristol. Bristol West is the most cancerous place. Okay, people that want. Okay, for Americans that want to know, Bristol is. Let's do equivalent bit. Bristol is Portland, okay. Brighton is San Francisco,
yes.
And Liverpool is Los Angeles.
Or Chicago.
Yeah. Take your pick. But Bristol is Portland because Bristol does have an Antifa
I would
problem.
say, honestly, I would label London as Chicago just for the sheer level of gang crime and murder rates, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, the man has a point.
And I'll just show you guys my constituency. Here we go, Bridgewater, West Somerset.
Live doxing.
Who are?
I
reckon yeah, secretly a farmer.
You are.
we should look at everyone's constituencies just for
okay.
Yeah, I'm not doxing myself.
Oh, okay. Well, if you want to look at Newcastle, you can feel
I
free.
can confirm one thing. I was actually actually in Canterbury when it flipped red, but I did not vote in Canterbury. I voted in my home constituency.
Which is your home constituency? Is it Thanet? North Thanet?
I will not divulge that information on live.
Okay, so
everyone knows I'm a Geordie, so
I think
I'll tell you.
Some of us don't have
it's one of the Kent ones. That is all I can really say.
Have I clicked on it?
No, I'm not gonna say. It's just one of them. It's one of the Kent ones that went blue.
Okay, well, I probably clicked on it. So yeah, it's probably one of the. Is it one of the blue ones?
Yes, one of the blue ones. That's all.
Okay. So Zenn, which you're in Newcastle, is that right? Right. So.
Unless Gateshead I think Gateshead is in the same district, isn't it? I can't remember.
Ooh, where is?
Oh, yeah, you get a bit dense up in the northeast because there's a lot of us up here.
Okay, where the fuck is Gateshead?
It's just next to Newcastle. It's literally next door to Newcastle.
Gateshead, there we go.
Hey.
Okay. Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh my God! What is wrong with you people up there?
I don't know. There's a lot of poor people, and they get swayed by money.
There's a lot of poor people where I live.
Maybe that's why they're poor.
It's blue.
I don't know. Okay, what?
Geordies deserve everything they get.
That's it. We're bombing it.
Maybe not poor. Maybe it's just uneducated is the problem.
Educate yourself.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fucking unis up here, though. Well, actually, that might be the problem.
That's the issue.
I mean, you got Durham, you got Newcastle. They're all very big ones.
Like, it's only now looking at the map, like on this, I realize how fucking dense my area of like the country is. Like, there's so many just tiny little zones.
To be fair, though, when in the 2019, let me just click to the 2019 election. It's a bit different.
Oh yeah, fuck, this was the 2019 one. Yeah, sorry.
So basically, SNP sort of won a few more seats. And Labour were absolutely decimated. So let's go back to your bit, Gateshead. Okay, well, it still voted Labour.
Yeah.
But it was a bit of an improvement. Of course, Blythe Valley went...
Oh, that was close. Fucking hell.
Yeah. That went Conservative for the first time in, I think, since like 1800 or something ridiculous.
Insane.
Yeah. I think
also,
some
I
year
think
that
I
Americans consider to be the Stone Age.
I think I
Yeah.
slept through this election.
and the best bit, and this is what bit that got me laughing through the entire election.
Oh no.
Tony Blair's old seat of Sedgefield went Conservative.
Yeah.
It went.
Abs on Blair.
Yeah, and where else?
Oh, is that bright blue one? Fucking the Brexit Party. They had a sizable percentage. I'm actually impressed.
Yeah, Brexit Party did well in a lot of the Labour. Like, look at Doncaster.
Blimey.
There was a lot of things where, in many ways, if, like, say, Brexit Party or Conservatives didn't stand and they both united, like, as one candidate,
Oh yeah.
they could have. I mean, there would be no probably.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing with the Brexit Party is that they were just the perfect, like, secure for those people who were like, oh, I hate, like, Labour, but never
Yeah.
Tory. They were the perfect, like capture point for those kinds of people.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah.
And I remember when it was going on, like just before, and Nigel Farage kept basically saying, "Look, Boris, do you want to have a deal? Do you want to have a deal? We can team up on this." And Boris just kept going, "No,
Yeah, I
no."
know.
And it's like fucking hell.
It was. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the biggest. But
Well,
look,
they stood down in Conservative safe seats, didn't
Yeah.
they?
But that's the point, though. Is Conservatives need to do the same in ones where they weren't going to win.
Oh right, I see.
That was the
The
thing.
Tories, though, they would never do that. They just would never stoop so low as to deal with Nigel Farage. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at Liverpool, though.
Did-
Look at this place.
Fucking
Did
state of
Farage
Liverpool.
stand himself anywhere? I'm trying to.
No,
No.
I don't think he did. No, because he
No.
wanted to focus on touring the country because he's a sort of.
Fair enough, actually. Fair enough. I
Yeah,
can understand that.
he's very much a sort of central figure. He's not really popular in one
I
particular
hate
area.
the prick, but I can't deny his results.
Yeah.
No.
I think Labour only had like one game, which was Putney. Here we go.
Yeah.
Bloody hell,
Again,
is that-
emblematic of their problem.
is that Orange Lib Dem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christ.
London, isn't it?
Remember that one year where they only got like one seat or something?
Yeah, that was 2015, and we go to this one. This is when like SNP just.
Oh
had
no,
a-
no, six was it? It was 6 seats. They only got 6 seats.
Yeah.
The Lib
Something like that.
Dems are actually an interesting party because we are seeing a shift of the voter base towards them as well, in that we're seeing far more affluent white areas going towards now the Lib Dems and away from the Tory party.
I hate that in England we're calling places white areas.
Well,
It's-
that's just the reality of how. Yeah, you know what I mean. You know.
Well,
That's
I mean-
an American way of talking.
I mean, on that topic,
Yeah.
my census arrived today, so we're gonna see some numbers in the coming months, boys.
No, but
yeah.
it's true.
Brexit
wait,
Party
you got-
existed in 2015. What?
No.
No. That's
No,
you.
no, no. It's UKIP. The trouble is,
Oh,
the
right.
person who did this website, he couldn't separate Brexit Party and UKIP, so he just was obviously
Fucking
lazy.
hell.
He's just lazy, but yeah, it's UKIP.
And
Okay,
it wasn't
right.
really a UKIP, it's Douglas Carswell.
Yeah, Douglas Carswell. He won. That was the only time they won Clacton, and then it was like, what was it? Farage. He stood in
It was
South
like
Planet.
Medway or Mason. I think it's the constituency up or something. No, oh yeah, Farage stood in South Planet. Yeah.
Yeah, because now Craig, this guy here, he's actually in prison, I think now
Lol.
What?
What?
for rape.
What?
Rape. Yeah.
Oh, bloody hell!
Oh no,
Should
no,
we
I
break
think you're thinking of Dover. You're thinking of Dover, I reckon. That he's in jail for rape.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
because his
Craig-
wife's now the MP.
Craig-
Oh, okay.
Craig
Sorry,
McKinsey.
South Planet
Sorry.
MP.
Yeah, it's this dude.
Yeah, you want to get that one right.
Yeah,
Because it was
Jesus.
all over my local news. So he got done for rape. His wife at the time then became the MP, and then obviously they're the force now.
Is that how that works?
Wife, well,
It
in Dover
It just passes
apparently.
on to your wife?
In Dover apparently, yeah. I don't
Jesus
know about the rest
Christ! I
of
hope that
the
doesn't happen to me. Oh, my
Yeah.
girlfriend's not shaped for
And
politics.
then
Christ.
if you go, just look at 2010, like how different that was.
Bloody hell. I'm not gonna lie, it's weird seeing like a segmented map of the UK and not seeing TAF written across a large chunk of it.
Oh
I mean,
my
look
God.
how disgraceful the Southwest was. But like, look at that. Like, fucking
Oh,
Lib Dem, like fucking low energy.
that was back when Lib Dems were like the sane Green Party.
Yeah, but I remember 2010. Like I
feel
was at school.
I feel like I should stand up as probably the one person who's ever voted Lib Dem once.
Boo.
Once. I
Boo.
think it was this election actually, the 2010. Hang on, fucking hell. No, I would have been too young in 2010.
You were too young, mate. I was like 15 when this.
Yeah, no, sorry. Then I voted Lib Dem in 2015. Then I guess.
Okay, boomer.
Oh, so you voted for them in the election where they had the biggest wipeout?
Was it 2015?
Classic.
I can't remember. No, I elected
tuition fees and everything.
I voted for them back when I was in college, in like my second year of college. No, I swear it was before Brexit. Maybe it was only a local election.
Well, this was before Brexit. This was 2015.
Oh yeah, it must be then. Yeah, that was my like first or second year of college.
Well, why? Why would you do that to yourself?
Because
man?
I looked through my local candidates, and he was like the only one that seemed like.
Look at you took a massive L voting for them. Look at that L.
Yeah. Then again, look at Labour. Okay, I could have taken a bigger L.
Yeah.
Well,
I will stand up proud and say I've never fucking voted Labour. I voted Lib Dem once, and then I voted Tory twice.
Have I made a worse mistake than Zenn?
Okay, no. But no, Jaws, say it in so.
Labour?
Just the one time. I was an innocent student. I didn't know anything.
Eject this dirty comment.
Okay, in fairness, it's not like Cringe Walker who's voted Democrat. That's still worse, I think.
He voted. Cringe Walker voted.
Actually kind of, because Biden just did the same shit as Trump, pretty much, plus the critical race stuff. That's basically it.
Yeah. Imagine voting Democrat in 2020 or
I'd vote fucking third party over fucking Democrat. Christ.
Well,
so
yeah,
I've always voted Tory. Like, I know some people say that's bad. Some will say it's good. But that's the purpose of this podcast.
I love that old Simpsons joke. What are you going to do? It's a two-party system. You have to vote for one of us.
You haven't happened, Tory, you haven't happened to vote for any lefties ever?
Well, no. The only parties that the first party I voted for was UKIP, and then I voted Conservative. Or
the first party you voted for was UKIP.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I remember why I voted Lib Dem. So my college teacher did like this PowerPoint presentation, basically like in the most basic terms, explaining what each party was all about. And I remember specifically the thing that convinced me about Lib Dem was that they said that their tax system was that everyone would be taxed an equal percentage rather than it going like up the more money you make or something like that.
That's quite good.
Yeah, and I remember that clicked with something in me, like that clicked with the libertarian in me, that everyone gets taxed perfectly equally. I remember liking that distinctly. And I guess that's and then the local Lib Dem was supportive of green power, and I think as a fucking college student that clicked with me as well. So it was those two things together. That was it. That's my only explanation.
Evictions. Well, your trial will come, and so we will.
your time will come, then. Now, anyway, moving on from that, because I was going to say we nearly spent an hour talking about stuff. We need
just to go explaining the SNP. Yeah.
Let's get on. We forgot about the case.
Oh yeah, Christ.
So let's just get on with it, and then we can move on to Bristol and laugh at the radical left there. Okay, so this is what people might recognise it because this is what Count Dankula on his second channel he brought up this article and everything that was written by Andrew Neil, and this is. I'll just read through this because this is for people who might be watching this want to understand, and we'll sort of go through it as we move on through this. So this is Andrew Neil. He's a Scottish commentator for The Spectator. He is, I guess, anti-SNP as well. Pretty much, from what I can see of his career with the SNP, he's never been too favourable to them.
No, he's not.
So this is Andrew Neil's take. So he says censorship, bullying, threats of jail, how Nicola Sturgeon stormtroops turned Scotland into a banana republic without the bananas. Yes, they have. As we know about the hate crime bill and the outbursts of like Hamza Yusuf, white. Lord Advocate General, white. and all
I
that sort of
still
stuff.
cannot believe that happened.
I tell you what,
Oh.
I've said it before to the Scottish Conservatives, for your campaign video against the SNP, just have that lunatic in a campaign ad, put it out there across like national TV. Don't say a word, just have him just go white this and white that, and
White man bad.
watch your poll numbers change dramatically. That's all I'm saying.
There's a lot to be said when all you need to do to gain support is just literally just air what your opponent is saying.
Well, a lot of it is because a lot of that stuff we know it in the internet spaces, but your normie who like sits at the breakfast table in the morning, like if you showed them that in the morning, I think a good percentage of the population will watch that will be like, what the fuck?
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like a lot of normies are blue pilled enough to be but white people are awful. In that kind of like
I think in America, yes. I think in this country, no.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah,
When was that? When was that? Like,
wasn't that long
outburst?
ago? But I mean,
see, that's the thing. Is it feels like nothing was that long ago, though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
so
I said that, and I was like, wait, hang on a sec. Nothing.
Was it since the last election? Is all I'm asking.
Yeah. It
was okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I will read through this article. These are dark, even dangerous days in Scotland. The straw mash between the country's two most famous politicians, Alex Salmond and Nicola Sturgeon, has resulted in vital public documents being censored or banned, important information being suppressed, the media cajoled and cowed, the legal system brought into disrepute, the Scottish Parliament neutered, and even bloggers being threatened with jail.
Do you want me to just basically sum this up, so you don't have to go through an entire news article?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if you sum this up, I just realised I cannot show the bit below this because it contains things which I cannot show. So I'm just going to stop this here.
Okay.
Yeah. So Zenn, please take it away.
Okay. So basically, Alex Salmond was the SNP guy before they did their election, and then
he's SNP Trump.
Okay, he's the guy who was in the SNP and ran it up until they lost their independence vote, and then he handed off to Nicola Sturgeon basically to say, "I failed. It's your turn now." And they had actually been quite close, to my knowledge. Apparently, he had basically been setting her up for the position to replace him. And recently, basically, as she's been going full batshit, look up anything that they have done recently. He decided to step them and go, right, you guys are off the chain. I'm coming back. I'm going to try and become, the leader again. To my knowledge, yes, he was trying to become the leader.
He was opposed to the. What you have to remember is there was a good portion in the old SNP ranks that saw the progressive. Well, I guess you could say progressive politics as a net negative, which it is. Even Obama.
Thank God they're sane.
Yeah, I mean, even Obama, he said it was like a circular firing squad. So a lot of these old politicians from the 90s and early 2000s were who are looking at this and saying, no, this is not winning your votes.
So you mean the people who don't just look at Twitter?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so basically he was doing a whole run for to become the next leader of the SNP, and then a collection of women all come out and accuse him of rape. It's the standard Me Too stuff. However, things almost immediately fell apart. To my knowledge, basically one of the women in court said, "Oh, I went to this dinner with him, and then he took me back and then did that to me." And literally, all his defense did was they came and just went, "You weren't even at that event."
I think even her friend, one of her closest friends that who was present at the dinner, if I remember correctly, confirmed that she wasn't even there.
Jesus, that's even worse. But yeah, so and I don't know any of the details of the other women, but basically it was the same thing. All of it just collapsed after that.
Now,
and then
I'm gonna because the women there is a in court injunction, so we'll just be careful what we say.
Just say what the press have reported, then I suppose.
Yeah, we can say what the press have reported.
Since when has that stopped?
Well, yeah, basically, because this is what
don't want to get Tommy Robinson here.
Yeah, don't get Tommy Robinson hit.
Oh, sorry, Voldemort. Oh,
Yeah, Voldemort. You can't say his name on.
I forgot that.
YouTube.
Sorry.
Okay, so basically, he and Alex Salmond, he has accused, because this is where the bit of context we'll put in here. All of this happened, this allegations, at the same time as Me Too, like with all the Harvey Weinstein and comedians and everything else that like masturbated in front of a woman or something.
This all started back in like 2019, didn't it?
It was, I think when was like the Harvey Weinstein Me Too stuff?
Fuck, I'll look up Sargon's video. Hold on.
Because it was right then. That's when all the allegations started, which a lot of people were pointing out that it's rather convenient. Like
October 2017.
Yeah, so I think this is where the allegations started coming out,
right.
Or was being made aware. And this is the thing, because one of the key points to all of this is where there's controversial behind all this, is Nicola Sturgeon was in. We know that now that she knew about this in 2017, but in her recent inquiry in at the committee that was a couple of days ago, but in another video she said that she didn't know about it until months later. So she's contradicted herself already. And then you have the connection. The person who investigated it is appointed by Nicola Sturgeon, and the person who oversees the parliamentary. Let me get this right. Whoever saw the parliamentary process behind all this was Nicola Sturgeon's husband, and so what you see here is there's a lot of questions now coming up, because Alex Salmond has accused Nicola Sturgeon of, as you said, of this being made political. Now, I've had a look at those documents which have been censored by the courts and by the Scottish Parliament in their entirety, because the Spectator posted it online, and it's circulated everywhere now. There is no way of them trying to stop it. So I've had a look at this. Can I
actually mention something here before I lose my track?
Yeah.
I really hate this idea of head of state brought in some Supreme Court judge. Thus, that Supreme Court judge will always side with that head of state. Like, it's something that we saw a lot of with like the Biden and Trump stuff, which was, oh, Trump brought in these judges, thus these judges are always going to side with Trump. What? That should not be a thing. A judge should be there to decide law and order. I hate this. And even, I mean, I don't want to go with the whole thing of, oh, but Trump's always law and order, because, But, like, I hate this just implication that a judge is going to be partisan. Like, a judge should never be partisan. That's literally the job, is to be anti-partisan. And
yeah,
this is just a thing that's come up in the last, like, couple months, so I thought I wanted to bring it up.
Well, it's not just been the last couple of months. I mean, the notion in America, the Supreme Court being a political institution, has been a thing that's grown by quite a while. I mean, it's
but I just mean specifically this last couple of months with the whole fortification and such. I felt like I wanted to say my piece about that.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, the reason I just say it was the Lord Advocate General was appointed by the First Minister, which is the case normally. But at the same time, a lot of the documents that have gone missing, quote unquote, or which have been censored for legal reasons, quote unquote, has all been done allegedly. And this is where the Conservatives are accusing effectively corruption without even saying it, because it's quite hard to prove legally. That there's been conversations between the Lord Advocate General, who is meant to be sort of neutral, independent, and the Scottish government, and that's when Salmond is basically accusing of a conspiracy. And this is where I'm going. This is where I'm saying I agree with him. It does appear, because what I know of the actual full entirety of the case that was put against Salmond and the people involved, And I can't. I will say to people, you can go search it on the Spectator, and you'll understand what I mean. It does look like that there was a conspiracy, effectively.
Oh yeah.
It does look like that. And if you when you see you'll see what I mean when you go to that Spectator article, when you see the entirety of the documents, you'll see that came out from the courts. You'll see why that's the case.
Yeah.
But I can't say it here, unfortunately.
Basically, there's been like very dodgy political censorship shenanigery, and it is literally what has been warned about for years when it comes to politicians censoring the internet. This is what they're going to use it for, and now it's literally happened.
Yeah, and also the people. It's just the people involved and the connection.
Yeah.
You know, when you see it, you just think to yourself, okay, I can see what's happened here. And Salmon is right. It does. There's something not good about this, and I don't think. And then the trouble is, you've had a lot of SMP on Twitter who have decided to do really bizarre deflecting techniques of saying, "Oh, but look at Westminster corruption. Look at the Tory corruption." I'm like, this wouldn't. You couldn't get away with this in Westminster, because number one, the judges. Number one, we were not a one-party state down here, but also number two, the English legal system does prevent like this level of interference by the Parliament. There is like a clear separation, so you couldn't Parliament, the Prime Minister couldn't apply pressure on like the High Court.
I will also add for any, again, Americans or Europeans, that the Scottish legal system is completely different to the UK one.
Yeah,
like, it's based in Roman law as opposed to like Saxon or Norse law, if you want to go back that far.
Yeah, they're based on Roman law. And so the English one is what's similar to your American one. Innocent until proven guilty is I mean, this is like the bare basic, and this probably I know a lot of legal people don't like me saying this, but English one is innocent until proven guilty, and Roman is guilty until proven innocent. That's the
very well. Yes, I mean, I'd say the guilty until proven innocent is more French than Roman.
Yeah. But I guess it could apply to Scotland in this case.
Well, yeah, I mean, the specific concept of innocent until proven guilty is British. Well, it is English.
Yeah, and it's birthed from English law.
Yeah.
And yeah, Scotland. I mean, ever since like the Act of Union in 1707, Scotland was allowed to keep its own legal system because of the relationship of the Scottish Church, which is like Presbyterian. It's separate to the Anglican Church. So there was clear like. It's not like a new thing that came under Blair. It's coexisted for.
Yeah. It's not like our Supreme Court or anything.
No. It's been around for centuries, and even before the Act of Union. So, and so what you have is a situation where the Conservatives genuinely believe that they've got enough evidence to basically prove that there is she's committed fraud. I think Labour are now on the same page that in Scotland, same as Lib Dems,
which is mad in itself.
Yeah, and the Greens as well have sort of joined in. They're sort of being a bit soft about it, but they think there's definitely something going on. And then of course you've got the SNP itself, where there's a lot of, I call them Sturgeonites and Salmonites, and there is elements of Salmonites still in the party and in the Scottish Parliament, who I guess also believe there is elements of corruption. And then just on the two thing, when it comes to the full legal advice that was given to Nicola Sturgeon when she was going ahead with this prosecution over the Salmons, the sexual assault cases, the Scottish Parliament voted twice for the Scottish. The Scottish Parliament voted twice for the Scottish government to release that legal report twice, and they were both. And the Scottish government, Sturgeon, has refused to release it twice, even though the Parliament has voted twice for it to be released.
Yep.
So she's just ignored it twice, and it's like, well, what do you do? I think that's one of the main reasons the Conservatives have filed a motion. You probably saw like Count Dankula tweeting that image of like that, the red eyes and everything, where basically the Scottish Conservatives just said, well, now we're not playing around. We're filing a motion of no confidence. It's not so much against as like some sort of corruptual thing that you can prove. It's basically the story's not adding up, and you've just, I mean,
there's nothing to prove. It's just a vote.
It's not. It's a vote of no confidence. I think no confidence is mainly on the idea that they just ignored a vote twice, and that's like,
Sure, yeah.
I mean, that is. I don't think it's illegal. It's just highly irregular. But the thing is, because of the SNP being a one-party state, there is nothing really the opposition parties can do, even if they did team up together. The only thing you can do is you can just use this in the because what makes it really bad is in a couple of months' time in May, there's an election happening up in Scotland for the Scottish Parliament, like their general election, the parliamentary election. So this has come at a really bad time for Nicola Sturgeon, because this is no doubt going into those elections, the opposition parties are going to use that against them heavily.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically what's been going on. I mean, one thing that has surprised me is how personal this has been between Sturgeon and Salmond. This has been rather personal, and it makes me think, and this is, I have no way of proving this, and it's probably not true, but this is just the opinion, everybody, journalists watching. I think Salmond and Sturgeon were a lot closer to each other before than is publicly acknowledged.
Are you trying to figure out what you're insinuating there?
Yeah, and I'm not going to say anything more because I don't want to get in trouble, but you get the idea. I think there was a closer relationship there, and something happened, and because this thing, Sturgeon has actively tried to get this guy locked up in prison.
Yeah.
So crazy ex, essentially, a bit like that.
Well,
that is
yeah,
the implication
like,
is being made. Yes.
Allegedly.
The allegedly the arch bunny boiler north of the border, basically.
What?
Okay. Yeah. I just realised I'm talking to a bunch of Zoomers.
We
okay.
get what your original implication is.
I get the reference as well. I'm not that young.
Well, obviously Zenn didn't get that reference.
Yeah, I don't know what he's on about. What?
It's a movie called Fatal Attraction.
Go watch. Okay, after this stream, Zenn,
Is that one movie where the girl crosses her legs and she's got no pants on?
No,
all me and Zenn know is Fortnite. That's all we know.
No. Then go watch Fatal Attraction with Michael Douglas. After this,
I feel like I've heard about it once before. There'll be like
it's
a
where the
meme
phrase
from
bunny
it.
boiler comes from, because she literally boils his
I've
bunny.
never heard that phrase before, though.
Haven't you never heard? Okay, listen, just go and watch the film after this stream, and then you'll understand.
I've got my own stream after this stream, but I'll put it on my list.
Okay, well, put on your phone. It's actually very good, to be honest.
I've just read it. I just read the summary on Wikipedia and immediately zoned in on the origin of the name. Yeah, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. Yeah, no, I will not be watching that movie.
Well, I mean,
it's not graphic. Like
that film puts you off pretty blondes forever. Not gonna lie,
blondes, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean that's basically all I have to say. I think when it comes to the elections, as I said, I don't think the SNP are going to do too well. I think she's going to be thrashed in the TV debates, if I'm absolutely honest. Because the trouble is, there's two scenarios. Either she stays and it's constantly used against her, and it's going to destroy her, or she goes now, and then the SNP have to find a new leader, and they're fumbling around right before an election, which is always a bad.
Yeah, and it's just some rando that no one's heard of.
Yeah, I mean that's the risk. That it's just some maybe it's Hamza Yusuf. I mean that's the other thing. Like,
Oh fuck
That's
me!
what I was thinking. He can go there and say, "Well, at least I'm not right."
yeah, and so it could be worse. I mean, this is the thing. It's like it's all up in the air at the moment of what happened. I will say this though before anyone's, because I know that I have a history of making election predictions which don't turn out to be entirely accurate. Though, like Trump said,
AI Shy's already posting his L's.
yeah.
Well. If malarkey happens, then you
Well-
can't really predict that, can you?
I just want to say this. I was 100% right about the US election prediction results. The problem was I didn't factor in fortifications of votes in Democrat areas. I didn't factor that point in. Maybe I should have done. There's my mistake. But overall, I think the SNP will be the largest party. In the sense that they will have the most number of seats, but I don't think they'll win a majority. In fact, I think they will lose seats, but they'll still remain the largest party. That's my prediction.
That's so grim. Like, they've done all this shit and they're still gonna just win.
Yeah.
And it's not even a two-party system. It's just Scotland are this programmed to be like, oh, it says Scottish, them.
I mean, if they do lose seats, then it is possible that I don't know how it would really be. So it would be. Because I don't think you likely see an alliance between the Conservatives, Labour, and Liberal Democrats.
Oh God, no, nothing like that will happen.
No. So
I think
get a SNP minority government.
I think what will happen, and this is because I've been looking at the Labour Party polling. They do seem, because they got a new leader now, they do seem to be going up in the polls, which at the expense of the SNP, like a 5% here of late. So if they can hold above 20% of the vote, you could have a situation where a minority SNP government goes into coalition with Labour.
I don't see that as too likely if Sturgeon's there and she's still got all this scandal over her.
Yeah, I mean,
and also that'll be very damaging for just Labour and in the South and the unionist seats. And
the thing though is, and this is something that is another factor which I think they're going to lose seats, and I don't want to say. I mean, I there's a part of me that thinks they're going to lose a lot of seats, if I'm absolutely honest. But then at the same time, I'm looking at previous polling before their elections, and like the last election they had in the Scottish Parliament. At this time, last time in 2016, they were getting like 56, 58% in the opinion polling, and they're only getting about 50 to 52%. And we haven't even come to the TV debates yet. So,
and it should all be noted that a lot of these polls are just from the 26th of February or earlier.
Yeah, and the 26th of February.
Out there now.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the latest opinion polling that I saw, which was after that, they've actually gone below 50% to 48%. So it does look, I mean, if I was them, I mean, on that alone, they are set to lose at least 3 seats. So it's not looking good. It is not looking good for them.
They don't have a majority now. So who are they in coalition with? Is it the Greens? Because they're a nationalist party in Scotland as well.
Yeah, they're in like a. Well, it's not a coalition. It's like
supply and demand.
Yeah, party. Yeah, and that's what they'll probably. I mean, again, opinion polling wise, this is the interesting thing. As the SNP vote goes down, the Greens sort of stay like 3% ish. So one thing that would be an interesting factor to watch out for is if you see in the news or in articles SNP politicians and activists encouraging the Green Party in Scotland to stand aside in the seats so that the vote isn't split, then you know they got a problem, because that will be a sign that they don't think they're going to hold on to certain seats if they have other pro-independence parties standing. So that'll be, I would say to people watching, that's one thing to watch out for, because then you know which way the wind is blowing.
And the Greens do that all the time anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, the Greens are, they are just another pro-independence party.
What do you guys think about the chances of the Reform Party keeping their one MEP?
They don't. I mean,
yeah.
it may just be a symptom of lockdown, but I mean, I've not heard jack shit from them. Whereas the Brexit Party were constantly like a thing before the last vote.
I don't think the Reform Party, unless they start campaigning now, I don't think we're going to hear much from them because, as Zenn said, they've not been doing any publicity, and that's just.
I mean, the problem is that like the right are just fragmenting right now, or the alternative Tories, they are fragmenting in a constant little. I mean, UKIP does still exist. I just recently put on another fucking year extension on it for God knows what reason. You've got the former Brexit Party, which is now the Reform Party. You've got, is it the Heritage Party by one of the? Is that Lawrence or is that?
No,
that's Curtin, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's Lawrence Fox's party. So that's like, 4 offshoot right-wing parties that are all going to be fighting for like the scraps essentially. And then meanwhile, on the left, it's like Labour. It's like, Christ.
Yeah, but I actually think that the only one of them that actually get anywhere is the Reform Party, just simply because they've got a ton of money behind them. Trump's relationship with Nigel Farage just got him in contact with some donors, and he's got so much money. You think they're now the 3rd wealthiest party in the UK?
God, I hate the fact that it does just come down to fucking money.
The Heritage Party would probably do best, to be honest, if they join up with the Reform Party at this moment in time. Lawrence Fox's party. I didn't know. Sorry, Josh.
Curtin's too based.
Pretty much.
Yeah, too based.
I actually fucking love Curtin now.
Same. He's amazing, isn't he? He's just so brilliant. He does not give a shit. He's the best.
The man, yeah, is the absolute lack of fucks that man gives.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in UKIP because I've got my foot in the door, but like I'm bailing the second that there's a better alternative, to be honest.
But look at Heritage. I think I know a couple of people who've got involved with that.
Point. I need to see if they've got like a sizable branch in Newcastle.
I think they're trying to run in every local election. I believe.
I need a lot of money for that then.
Because again, I got something planned for May. During the election thing, I got something big in the works. When it comes to the election period, like with guests and such, so I'm going to keep it under wraps for the moment because I've yet to hear back from a couple of them. But if what I think could happen, this would be quite a big stream with a lot of big people on. Sorry,
okay. Is it our boy David?
Sorry?
Is it our boy David? Is he going to be turning up?
David?
Who?
Yeah.
What, David Curtin.
Oh, no, not politicians. Oh, God, no. I did ask a politician if he wanted to come on the stream, and he saw he said he watched a couple of episodes on my channel, and he decided that probably best not to.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It was Ben Bradley, by the way.
I know that's the point. Oh, really?
Who's he? He sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's a Tory.
Yeah. He was the. I mean, I might ask.
Has he been one of the anti-lockdown folks?
Yeah, I might. Yeah, I think that's the one. And I might ask Kemi Braddock though. She might come on if I ask nicely. Kemi Braddock. Yeah.
She's education secretary or something, isn't she?
Oh, she's the one that keeps telling the left to fuck off, isn't she?
Yeah, and she's the one that basically says...
Was she the one who was on that call with that one actor on the BBC? And she was like, racism isn't a thing. And he's like, I can't believe she would say this.
Yeah.
Was she like the... Because it's not... Because Gavin Williamson's the education secretary. Isn't she like the minority... What's it called? The disability, minority woman, all that stuff.
Canada. I love how they throw disability in the same category as black.
I don't know if that's the name anymore. I just... That kind of area of like...
Yeah.
Who's that one musician who's like, his name sounds like Kemi, but he's just like a black guy, and he's like, I think he's a rapper. I don't know. What did you say there?
There is a black guy called Kemi who was a Remainer.
See, that's who I always think of when people say Kemi, so I keep getting confused when they say she's based. I'm like,
Wait,
no, this was a Labour guy.
You mean Zuby?
No, because he is based, isn't he?
I was going to say, yeah.
No, there was one guy who always hung about with Corbyn. I think he did a performance. Femi, that's it. I get fucking Femi and Femi mixed up. That's what it was.
Femi, yeah, that's right.
I get really confused. I'm like, wait, what?
No, Femi's low energy. No, Kemi's the base one.
Yeah.
And she, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think she is a Sargon viewer personally.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Because she's the only one in the Conservative Party who was like the only one that I can see who started talking about when she was talking about critical race theory, saying no, it's not that it doesn't work; it's also just evil.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's my big point that I want to hammer is like the problem is not that it doesn't work. Like you should be glad it doesn't work.
It's evil. I will lie. The only other Conservative that I heard say that probably before her was Philip Davis. He did say that.
Whatever happened to him? I've not heard from him in ages.
He is still about, but he's sort of been blacklisted by the media in this country. But there's like a feminist coalition that tried to in 2017. I remember they tried to unseat him, and he won. And I think he said something like me one, feminist zero, or something. It's like
he had that one. He had like that eternal war with. Was it Jess Phillips? He had the war with, or was it another?
Yes, it was where he like tried to table a motion about male suicide or something, and she just laughed.
And she shat talked him, and that was why Sargon did the thing.
Yeah.
And the thing that would define him for a generation.
And I mean, he's like the feminists have just tried to bombard him, and it's really funny because while a lot of Conservative MPs, like vast majority of them, would probably come out and they'll apologise and they'll go on the BBC and they'll be ritually humiliated by the Marxists and the Labour Party and the left-wing journalists. He just when he's confronted by it, he just says, "Yeah, I don't care. I don't care."
Yeah, he just does like the hose mad thing. He's just like, nah.
Yeah. And then he's like, I think he even said, I think it's one interview, he said, I think the feminists should be apologizing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
I genuinely thought that he was going to follow on that saying, because they should apologize for me for making me a misogynist.
That'll be my best.
Taking a leaf out of Memory TV's book.
Not wrong though.
Yeah. I might do that if I become a Conservative MP. They'll just ask me why am I against women's, and I say, well, maybe women should apologise to me for making me a misogynist.
Tremendously based.
The trouble is, if I did that, I think I would. Well, I don't know. I'd definitely be blacklisted.
Well, the problem is that then you just get the article saying Al Shaitori admits he is a misogynist. It's not that hard to clip that.
No, that's
hit him with the listeners then. Hit him with a Chad, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe. You can only be cancelled if you let yourself be cancelled. Is that the logic?
Yeah, that's the Gina Carano logic right there. Yes. It's right. It's true, actually. Because I think Philip Davis, he's just been... I don't know what's happened with him, though. I think he's started to lay low for a while.
I mean,
probably.
I would.
In fairness, technically everyone's laying low right now in their fucking homes.
Yeah. I mean, the only conservatives who have been kicking up stuff, the only conservative who's actually been engaging and on the attack is Kemi. I mean, she's the only one I can really think.
Even then, I've only seen one or two speeches from her, and that's it.
Do you want to have an intermission of looking at idiocy? Because I posted this on my Gab the other day, but I don't have anyone on my Gab.
Is she the one who was what's it called, race theory, or saying capitalism is bad, as extremist speech won't be allowed in schools?
Probably. Yeah,
she said that Black Lives Matter and its doctrine won't be allowed in schools because anything that promotes anti-capitalist, racist, divisionist politics is not allowed in our schools. And it's like, Yes, the problem is, and this is where yes, I agree, and yes, that's thankfully you're doing something along that line. But at the same time, how are you going to enforce it? Because there are certain schools who are just going too bad, and they're doing it anyway. So unless there's punishment that comes with it, like you shut the school down, you defund the local council, and on the topic of defunding councils, we're going to get onto Bristol in a minute. But I will just do a quick intermission of laughing at something. So what's this?
Check it out. One of my mother's feministy friends posted this, and it ended up on my Facebook. So I needed to laugh at that with someone who's going to laugh with me.
Okay, so I've just seen the title here. So just for people who are aware, YouTube. You win. What's her name at YouTube that does like the banning? Lewinsky or something?
Susan
Wojcicki.
Susan Wojcicki. Sorry, I got your name wrong, love. So anyway.
All right, Pat.
All right, Pat. So just to let you know, Susan, and other feminists and journalists watching this, this is from a feminist group. This particular thing here. So I didn't make this. This is not a joke content or anything. We're not joking about this.
I don't know. I'm gonna laugh at this. I'm gonna laugh at this a lot.
Yeah, we're gonna laugh. Yeah, who am I kidding? We're gonna laugh at this. Okay, so 5 rape prevention tips. 1, if someone is drunk, don't rape them. Okay, good start.
I didn't know that.
Well, now that was going to be my plan for this weekend. Like,
I
thought I was.
When you see someone walking by themselves, leave them alone. What is this? Are they trying to guide how not to be Peter Sutcliffe?
This is a parody. This is a parody of when people try to tell women, okay, if you don't want to be raped, do these things to keep yourself safe. So, you notice one of the ones is use a buddy system and don't walk alone, which is perfectly fine advice if you're in a dangerous area for everyone, not just women, but men too.
Yeah, men are more likely to get mugged and killed.
Yes, there's literally statistics about this. Is men are more likely to be attacked than women, just on statistics.
Well, obviously,
but well, see, that's the thing. That's not obvious. Most people wouldn't. Most normies don't think that because they've been fucking conditioned.
Most women don't think that.
But this is the meme these days. Is like, oh, the best way to stop rape is just tell men not to rape people, and this apparently is what you should tell people to do this. And I think I've been posting this around places, just saying, all right, now please leave your back door unlocked because clearly the way to solve robberies is just to tell people not to rob you. That's the comparison I've been using. But it's just so fucking stupid.
No.
Just saying no.
If you say no, then they legally can't have sex with you.
No. What is the one thing that 100% of the time will stop rape? Consent.
If only had some people just told Hitler no, then they would have already.
If only they could vote horrible Nazi dictators out of office.
Oh man, if only rape was illegal. If only.
Yeah.
I know, right? Can you imagine what the world would be like if rape was illegal?
But yeah, if you want to just focus in on the bottom bit there, rape culture directs women to police their clothing, beverages, behavior, and sexuality at all times to avoid men. It portrays men as powerless against their violent sexual urges. I've never heard rape described as this. I've never heard rape described as men losing control of their body because of attractive women by anyone except feminists
or Islamists.
Well, yes, true.
That's the whole point of the burqa, isn't it?
Disclaimer: I've actually been all around the country, places like up your way, Zenn, Newcastle, York, Bristol, London, and I've been out in town.
Have you witnessed many rapes across all of these places? Is that where you're going with this?
No, only rapes in this area a bit different in this area. You can make a little comparison.
No. I haven't. But what I'm saying was, I don't find a woman who is drunk to the extent of throwing up on my shoe while I'm walking out of a club in any way attractive.
So what you're saying is you wouldn't even rape her.
I was fucking drinking there. You can't do that.
You're very welcome.
Well, you know what, Shire. So you know what they say: every hole's a goal.
Oh no.
No, but
Okay.
I mean, okay. So I like
Spicy for me.
the extrapolation of this. The only time I've ever heard this even slightly like this implication of men losing control is when women get told, "Would you not wear tank tops in school? It's distracting for the other boys." Which in this case, it's not implying that they're going to fucking molest them. It's just if you're in class and there's a lass with her tits out, you're gonna focus on her and not on your work. I think all of us, as having once been schoolboys, can agree.
And I went to a single-sex school, so I couldn't tell you.
Oh,
I
look at you,
mean,
posh boy. Okay.
I remember I once had a decent looking teacher with a tank top on, and and she was like, and she clearly had implants, and I was like 11, and it was like I didn't really know what was happening, but I was just very, very mesmerised. I didn't know what happened.
Young Pman.
Saved in the bank for a decade.
Young Pman did not want to play with Eggos anymore.
But yeah, it's just this odd kind of like. I hate how overused the term feminist, but it really is. It's this weird feminist or just female idea that where they just extrapolate something and completely miss the point.
Yeah, I remember at school I had a relatively based like chaplain who taught us religion, like RE and religious stuff, and when he was teaching us about Islam, because we had like modules on different religions, like we did Islam and Judaism and Hinduism and Sikhism, I think were the ones we did. And he basically said that, yeah, that's the reason for the burqa, is because the Muslim men don't believe they can control themselves around the women.
Yeah. That is what was used in the grooming gang courtroom as well. One of the reasons.
Yeah. I've heard it from feminists and I've heard it from Muslim men. So maybe they are
what we've learned about this is women girls in your northern and urban settings where you go out in the clubs and the pubs, wear a burqa, you slags. That'll be my policy, actually. I'll basically say women can go out drinking as long as they cover up and wear like nunnery outfits, cover themselves.
I mean, I'm personally an advocate of the Second Amendment. Girls, if you want to go and get drunk and dress like a slag and you don't want a guy to rape you, carry a gun so you can shoot the pricks who try it.
Do you want a really, really drunk person?
Or a really drunk girl with a gun? Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
can you imagine Essex girls? Can you imagine like your average like orange Essex girl with like a fucking Colt or something?
She just brings a fucking assault rifle to
the dumb shits will probably shoot themselves or something.
No,
I'm not gonna lie. If girls in the club were like packed, that might be the only reason I would flirt with them. That is like the one fucking positive trait I'd see of them.
Yeah, actually, I have to agree there.
The point is, the guys there are armed, so they look after them. Like that's always how it's been.
Yeah, but then you'd be armed.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess yeah. If they're trying to stop guys raping, then having guys with guns probably is the best idea.
Stop sharing that because I don't want to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've as I said, personally, I find I've seen. I mean, like literally in New York, I was coming out of this bar, and there was this girl and a friend, like slightly. It was, how old was I? About like 18 or something, and she must have been like in the mid to late 20s. So quite a lot older actually, and she just threw up all over the place.
Nice.
And on my shoe.
How dare you?
and
I say
she was apologizing so much because we like.
Oh yeah, no, they do. They genuinely do. Like most women, if they throw up, they are the most apologetic people.
Yeah, and then she then she was like bussed away in an ambulance with a friend and everything.
Oh no!
Oh, wow.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Fucking hell!
Yeah. She like proper.
Oh, was the vomit red?
Yeah. She's really small as well. So but that was the last time I went in public because I was obviously as an aristocrat, who went out in public for the first time, I cannot stand the plebs in this country. So
It's like fucking Jasmine sneaking out of the palace. This is her first fucking exposure to the common folk.
I didn't like it. So, I mean, Jasmine, she fucking loved it and got shacked up with one. I literally, the first fucking bar I went to in York, and the barman had a problem with me.
Why?
I didn't know why.
Why do you think that was?
It was a massive lefty. I actually don't think it was a massive lefty bar, and I was trying to, because I was drunk. I was sort of drunk as well at the time, and I can't remember exactly what I said or something.
Or
But,
by any chance.
It was probably just your accent, mate. If it was in like.
I mean, York's not. York's relatively like.
Yeah, so it's a nice city. Really nice.
Oh, fair enough.
York's it's not like Bristol or something.
No, I mean, I'm just trying to think what I. Oh God, yes, I do remember. There's there's like a fort in York, and me and my friends we went up there. Like it's like in the city itself, and it's where back in the medieval time the J words were rounded up and were burnt within it, and I think
burnt.
Yeah, like in the fort itself. People, if you do like research in local history of it, you'll find where it is. And I think this was like midnight, and we were like reenacting it. I think company reenacting it. Come to think of it,
is this the equivalent of like those guys on Bonfire Night who had like an effigy of Grenfell Tower? This is like a more historic version of this.
Yeah, but we didn't film it. I mean, I wish we did film it. It'd be pretty funny.
Mate, did you see what happened to them? You're glad you didn't fucking film it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you film it, I never upload it. Never upload it to the internet.
Yeah, that's the mistake, isn't it?
That's the mistake. But yeah, I mean, trouble is, like, given that time period, if we filmed it, like, probably the Labour Party would like help us and support us, unironically.
Christ.
And then we would be condemned by everyone else.
I've never gone clubbing.
Do you leave the house at any point ever?
I mean, back when it was legal. No, not really. I don't have friends. Okay, the closest to going out clubbing is 2 instances with the same friend. Actually, was once after we went to see Joker. Me and my girlfriend went back to my mate's house, and we drank a bit there. And the second was like, I think it was during the first lockdown. Actually, we had a barbecue at his place and drank a bit.
And that's the closest to clubbing you've been. You've been to a barbecue,
yes.
Had some beers and watched a film.
Yes.
That's sad. Right,
yes.
We need to sort this out. We need to all collectively.
I think Harrian has literally made like a public thing of like our like sort of segment of YouTube are all going clubbing in. I think he's been trying to get us all to come to Manchester. That's if I have the money for it, maybe. But
see, and also we could get you out of your like fancy,
my grand estate.
Yes. I think the plan. I think Harry and I were drunk and meaning about this. The plan was to try and wingman Owen because it'd be funny.
Why just start talking about architecture shit?
I just be like, hey, I hear you like Welshmen. Here's one. Have you met her?
Christ.
No, I think I try and limit my interactions with the local peasantry, and I think when it comes to like trouble is I'm sorry, Zenn, but I do. When I went up there to York,
why are you apologizing to me about York? I'm not from York.
Yeah, I know, but that like north.
He's going to complain about northerners.
The northerners, yeah, you're kind up there.
Yeah. Anything beyond the Derbyshire Dales, it's just common land for me. Like I cannot understand half the accents up north. I just can't do it, and especially like the women's accents. It's just I cannot. I mean, they all should be maids working in grand estates for Shire Tories. So. That's my problem with going up to Manchester or something. It's just I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
I mean, there is an argument that Manchester isn't even in the north.
Right. I've
Yeah.
got 20 minutes left. Do we have time to talk about Bristol?
Yeah, let's do Bristol really quickly. So,
Yeah.
so basically, I mean, talk about places I cannot stand to go to. Bristol was now the new place on the list. Bristol City.
It's a shame because it's not a bad city.
It never used to be. It is though now because it's a shit place.
I've only visited. I visited once. I think to a friend at university there.
Yeah, I mean, what the shame thing about Bristol is it used to be Labour used to be dominant, but you used to have like Lib Dems, Conservatives, and such, and it used to be quite like mix and match.
It's a sort of south. It's the big like southwestern hub, isn't it?
Yeah, big city, and then like Momentum came in, Antifa moved into Stokes Croft, and then they became more. Yeah, and then they became because it used to be just like socialist workers. They were quite harmless, and then the Americanized Antifa came in, and they are very, very violent. So they're not like the old sort of urban revolutionary types like in the 80s and 90s. These ones are very violent and very dangerous.
Stoke Bishop, I think, that sort of village area.
Yeah, it's there's a region in Bristol called Stokes Croft, and it is they started a riot there in 2010, I think it was. I remember that there was like a riot they started over like planning rights for a new Tesco or something like that. So they're very militant there. It's literally like Portland.
Jesus Christ.
I genuinely believe that if there's going to be any Black Lives Matter shit or anything like that going down, Stokes Croft will be the place where it breaks out, 100% guaranteed. So what happened recently in Bristol was that the council, in a Zoom call, basically said that they are going to they're calling. Well, first is they're calling for a parliamentary inquiry into slavery reparations, and then they want to implement on the local level reparations for slavery because Bristol, from the point of view of the people in the Zoom call, Bristol benefited from the slave trade. Let me word it how they worded it. Bristol benefited from slavery, and it's why it's the wealthy city as it is today. Now, if you actually deconstruct that argument, there's actually multiple false, inaccurate information.
Yeah, that seems way too simplistic.
Yeah, so
I'd be suspicious hearing that, even if I knew nothing about the history.
Yeah, so basically, like I guess people watching this who are educated, unlike your average Labour Party activist in Bristol, will fully well know that you had the transatlantic slave trade was like a triangle. So slaves never really actually came to Bristol. Very few, in fact, did. Most of the slaves went from, obviously from Africa to the Caribbean or the American colonies. And then it would be spices and other tradable goods.
Yeah, exactly. Like the wealth was generated on the other side of the world, and all this stuff came to Britain, so it could be made into things. Yeah,
that's right. That's how it worked. And Colston, who was a spice trader who owned shares in a slave trade company. I mean, he likes the stonks.
He likes the stonks.
He likes the stonks.
He's the OG Wall Street Bets retard.
Yeah, basically. But this is the thing. Like, I have stocks in fucking Amazon, I think.
Yeah, if you own an iPhone, you've already benefited more from the slave trade than Colston.
Yeah, so if there's like a statue of AI Shia Tory in 50 years' time, that means I would be technically like part of the child slave trade in China.
Yes, you should be cancelled for that.
Yeah, you should be cancelled for that. So yeah, I mean, it's like, and what you had is like obviously nearly a year ago, you had Edward Colston's statue, which was pulled down by a mob of Marxist domestic terrorists, which was supported by insurgent Avon and Somerset police officers who are also domestic terrorists.
Yeah, the police were on the side of it as well. They didn't even do anything.
Yeah, they facilitated it, and of course you had the local politicians who were also domestic terrorists. Hi Saffron, by the way.
She missed the rape talk. Oh no.
No,
I had noticed the chat lit up in the last 15 minutes. Bloody hell.
yeah, I was going to say thank you guys for all commenting. I haven't even seen the chat. I was being annoyed. Yeah, so
I want to quickly respond to Carlos's comment. More importantly, school's supposed to simulate a professional environment. Are you saying that women in offices don't have their tits out to try and get promotions?
Definitely not.
Usually,
They're not possibly comment.
Some do.
actually, just think, I know in America, this is like one thing that happens in America. It is like, I think it's against I don't know if it's against the law, but it's against practice in the workplace to have relationships. In Britain, you don't have that problem. That's not a thing. You can have a relationship within work. Well, I hope you can, because otherwise I'm in trouble.
That's pretty grim, to be honest. If that's actually a thing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people spend it's something ridiculous, like a third of relationships start like that or something.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're going to spend 8 hours of the day there, it's not like you're going to be anywhere else. But then again, I can also. But at the same time, I suppose I can also see if it goes wrong, then it fucks everything.
Well, yeah, I guess that's the reason for that. I suppose.
But that's what happens when you vote Democrat, guys. You get batshit
no, Fez. I live in the Northeast. Most of my teachers were like fucking 40, 50.
Well, most of my teachers were like in their fucking 70s.
Well, yeah, I was lowballing it. The young, actually, in fairness, one of my teachers was pretty young.
Yeah,
she was decent.
Well,
dude, I'm pretty sure her name was Miss Young, actually, which is pretty funny.
I remember when I was in sixth form, we had like a trainee teacher. She was from America, and she was quite young. And I spent a lot of time.
Are America doing the same thing that Germany do with our doctors? All the doctors immediately go to Germany because it's higher pay. The English teachers all going to America.
Oh, but she was a rampant Democrat, though. Like, literally.
I thought you were going to say she was a rampant slut.
She, literally, she was we got, talking about politics, and she genuinely... she basically had an argument with me about over Margaret Thatcher, and I was like, and she basically saying, oh yeah, Margaret Thatcher, she closed down all the coal mines and everything else, and I was like, okay, sort of. It was a bit more complicated than that, but yes, go on. And then she said about how all the industry was shut down, and I was like, okay, but isn't that what at the time, this was when Obama was president, I was like, but isn't that what Obama's doing with a lot of the energy industry in your state?
I've got to love Americans lecturing us about our history.
Yeah, but exactly.
And then she got really pissed off with that.
Then again, I'll lecture Americans about their history. So
yeah, I mean, it's like, well, yeah,
I don't lecture Americans about their history. I patronize Americans about what they call.
I was going to say, George, you had a recent spat with an American, didn't you?
Yeah, that guy. I normally like his space shit that he talks about, but God, when he talks about history.
Yeah, I know. He just he said to you, he basically just said to you, shut up.
Well, no, I love it when you're arguing with Americans and they think you can solve any, they can finish the argument with you because you're British by saying our military is bigger than you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not talking to Joe Biden, am I? I'm talking to you.
I mean, the opposite tends to be true of school shootings. If any of the Americans ever try that with you, just go school shootings and that's it.
I don't care about that, so I didn't bring it up. But yeah, I'm sure British.
I'm just saying, if they're gonna pull some random thing out of their ass, just have one on the back foot ready for you.
Yeah, it's that guy was. He said something like the Britain and Germany should unite because of our shared ethnic heritage. Oh, I'm like, have you spoken to an English person or a German person ever? They like.
Oh, was this a Yisraelite?
No, he's very separate. So he is, but he's retarded on economics, but pretty based on.
I mean, that is really, really, really stupid, and I can tell because I'm pretty sure didn't even the Nazis think a key thing to uniting a country was language.
I don't know.
They considered us to be kind of peripheral to the sort of.
Or was that just the real reason why the German state just unified anyway? Just a key thing behind the nation is actually that's just a key thing in just general conservatism. The key to a nation is to unite people, often behind something that's foundational as language or a common shared history. Germany and England do not have a shared language.
Our shared history is 1,000 years of pretty much constant warfare.
Yeah, and
I
you're
mean-
going back to an ethnic heritage, and it's like, well, that's a bit too. That's not enough.
You want to go back to worshipping fucking Woden?
I mean, that's how far you'd have to go back, which is really strange because like there's no written record, so and there's nothing
There's the
tangible.
Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, which
Well, yeah, but there's no widely written records that can be verifiably true, if that makes sense. Like, I mean, as much as I like Bede and stuff from that period, we don't know how true all of that is because it's all like from one source near enough.
it was just like I basically said like, oh, American tries to apply their stupid racial theory to the rest of the world and is confused that they don't work.
I mean, I just want to say, Americans watching, my fucking desk is older than your country, so shut the fuck up.
Oh.
But we've got a small army, so we can't say anything ever.
Yeah,
I want a comfy oak desk. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, you've stumbled onto one of my kinks.
Okay, let's get back to Bristol City, guys.
I thought you said I'm going to come on your desk.
No, I said I want a nice oak desk. That's all I said.
No, I thought you said that as well.
Yeah, I
Canon
heard
Zenn.
that. That's why I sort of awkwardly moved on.
That's why you're like, oh, okay.
It's canon. You cannot escape that now.
No, I discovered when I moved into my new house, I really like antiquing. I really like going to charity shops and looking at nice old furniture.
But not,
Fucking okay, boomer.
but not that much. No, not that much.
He just gets off on the fucking furniture. That's an 1898. Oh.
So
Sniffing the desk.
So basically, with guys, let's get this on before it goes too long.
Aye, Bristol. Something about Bristol.
Bristol. So, yeah, as we said, Bristol City Council is doing an inquiry into reparations. Blah 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 blah. Betty Gibbs. So this is what has happened. The councillors have voted overwhelmingly in favour of a plan for atonement and reparations for Bristol's role in the transatlantic slave trade. Bristol City passed a motion at an extraordinary full council meeting on Tuesday. The motion, atonement and reparation for Bristol's role in transatlantic slave trade, transatlantic traffic in enslaved Africans, was supported by 47 councillors and opposed by 12. Now, I'm pleased to say that the 12 that opposed it were all Conservative. All the Conservative councillors opposed it. So that's one good thing to come from all this. That's one good. That's the one good thing. The ones that voted for all this, as you imagine, are the Labour, Greens. Greens were very enthusiastic about this, as you can imagine, and of course the Liberal Democrats.
I think I hate the Liberal Democrats more than Labour, if I'm honest. Like at this point,
yeah.
Well, they're not even liberal. Yeah. I mean, I was like,
not Liberal Democrats.
Oh no! Just call yourself like the Independent Socialist Party. If they called themselves Socialist Party tomorrow, I wouldn't have a problem with them. I was just like liberal. No, get out of here. You're not liberal. Liberals wouldn't.
Well, they're liberal in the American sense.
Liberals wouldn't. Because they basically want to have a race tax.
Sorry.
The Bristol City Council want to impose a race tax.
Now,
go on.
Do they have the power to do that?
No, they don't.
There you go.
Because number one, I don't. Well, even if they do, I don't know how it can be enforced because you could just not pay it. I don't know how. I mean,
that's a based way to look at taxes. You can just decide not to pay it.
It's like, what if I don't?
Yeah. So, well, I think
you and what army?
When it, yeah. Well, I mean, basically, from
a police corps
perspective, I don't know because someone just asked me, can they actually do anything? Because of the metro now, because of the city mayor, you got metro mayor's Conservative, city mayor's Labour. I don't know where the powers. Like the trouble is, devolution in this country is so fucked at the moment. I don't know where power lies. I think it. I think it can lie ultimately with central government. So there'll be one or two things: either government, local, central government, Westminster government, that is, could just defund or cancel funding to the council, which is what I would do personally. You have option two. If you live in Bristol and that is something that they do, don't pay it. Make them take you to court. Go to the highest court in the land and get it. Make it illegal. If you're somebody who's watching this with enough money, you could take Bristol City Council to court for being rampant racists. As one option. I mean, there are multiple options available. So yeah, there are multiple options available that you could delve into. Apart from that, I don't know. I don't think they can. I mean, ultimately, I don't really. The funny thing about this, then, this is where it gets really funny, I think, and I know that the Lotus Eaters covered this in today's podcast. But there is an ultimate thing that when the clip in question, which I can't find now on YouTube, of the meeting, the councillors, the Labour and Green councillors, they all tar. They basically come up with the idea where they're tarring all Africans with the same brush, in the sense of all Africans need reparation. So it's not like West
they're going to do it with Somalians or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's Algerians, Egyptians, Libyans, Zimbabweans. I mean, it's like all of them, like people who were not affected by the transatlantic slave trade. In some cases, slave nations themselves. And then you look into the people who are living in Bristol now were, in fact, descendants or lived within the states that actually committed slavery in the big way, like Benin today. I mean, they founded their foundation of their society was on slavery, and we had to actively go down there to prevent them from conducting slavery well into the 19th century.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's not much to say against like reparations that haven't already been said, to be honest. I wanted to focus in on like the wonderful accents from some of the people there. There was one who just had this really weird, like almost fake Southern American accent.
This one green. This was one. I think it was a Green councillor, and she was quoting Rosa Parks.
Yes.
And this sums up one of the problems with the left at the moment, and why we're seeing opinion polls where Labour's shrinking down, why people are getting more sick and tired, and probably why they're being bullied more on social media, which I'm not entirely against, to be honest. And this is something that the left are doing in this country, which I don't understand why. And basically, there is they've adopted the American college campus progressive movement and Americanism of division between races, which isn't a real thing. I mean, it's completely astroturf. It's astroturf in America, but it's completely astroturfed in this country. It's not real. No foundations in reality whatsoever. And the public at large know this. And so what you have is you've got like this really bizarre leftist cult around civil rights figures where they, in a sort of real sick and narcissistic way, they really want to recreate the quote unquote glory days of the mid 60s and the civil rights movement. And a lot of this comes down to what, I think Charles Moore and Douglas Murray have both said, where there is a supply and demand in America problem with racists because there isn't enough racists to go around. In fact, there's very few racists. And in this country, there's even fewer. There is literally, I mean, where's the BNP? Where's any party that is generally racist? Where are they? They don't exist because they just don't exist. There is no mass.
There's no KKK or whatever. Like,
Sorry, Jos.
there's no KKK equivalent, or never has been really.
No, we've never had. I mean, I'm just trying to think. You got like National Action, other groups that are banned, but they're just
BUF and stuff, I guess. But...
we will just see what the left will do. What they always do, and they are doing. They just move the goalposts.
Yeah, because they think that suddenly if you're
you have in-group preference. If you have in-group preference towards the British people, you are now a racist.
Yeah, so like UKIP, like first it was UKIP are racists, then it was Brexit Party, then it was
first it was UKIP are racist, then it was UKIP are fascists, which was always fun to watch.
Yeah, and then of course like Sargon Karl back in the day, became fascist Nazi, and then people like us, and then just bog standard conservatives who are like Boris Johnson. I mean, the idea of calling Boris Johnson far right is absolutely laughable. I mean, he's not even right wing within the party. So I mean, it's like the idea. But then again, anyone to the right of Mao is probably a Nazi.
Well, most people don't understand how far the right can go, and that's not even in like a Nazi sense, like just in a reactionary sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, they don't understand how far right they can go.
They don't understand kind of political philosophy. They don't know the sort of the scales that the axes that these beliefs can be on. I mean, they see something left, right of center, and think, "Oh, that must be Nazism."
Yeah, I mean, if you ask somebody, if you ask like your average leftist, what is a fascist, they would probably say, racist, homophobic, and transphobic. That would probably be like the first
what's their economic policy?
yeah. But in reality, we all know a fascist is someone who believes in the combinational power of the state and private corporations working as one.
I guess it's also to do with the state as an embodiment of the nation, in the same way we think of the Queen as the embodiment of the nation.
Yeah, that as well. But but then the reason why I say corporations, it's quite clearly stated, is because that's what separates it from communism. Because that's what communism is as well. It's just the state becomes the embodiment of the nation.
Yes, but it's more internationalist than communism.
Sorry, what's more internationalist?
Fascism is nationalist. Communism is internationalist.
But communism is internationalist in the sense that every country must become communist for communism to succeed. So it's imperialist. I mean, that's the thing, because I argue communism is actually imperialistic in nature, because.
But so is fascism, I guess, because they need to. Well,
because National Socialism, because the Germans had to expand for it to, for the philosophy to work. I think, at least, because I don't think fascist Italy necessarily needs to expand.
Well, Mussolini put a lot of emphasis on the power of the military, so we have to go and demonstrate that.
Yeah. And so what you had is this really weird sort of speech with a very shitty American accent and very cringeworthy. And you also had this, again, stuff that happens. It happens in America. It happens here. It's basically Marvin Rees, who is the mayor of Bristol, who's Labour mayor of Bristol, who you see on the screen here, said that he, as a black man, he still feels oppressed. Yet he is the elected mayor of a major city in the UK. So, and this is where
tell that to all the fucking people who can't pay rent. Like, Jesus.
I mean, this is the thing. Like, I don't understand. I mean, I want a black activist or a Black Lives Matter or some Marxist to explain to me, because they always turn around and say, oppression isn't always about accessibility and barriers. It's like, well, that's what you keep on saying. And you say, no, systematic oppression. Okay, what is systematic oppression then? If there is systematic oppression, he should not be there.
See, the thing that they always say nowadays is, "Oh, I feel this way." They always hinge on that.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I'm oppressed. I still feel this way.
But your feelings are bullshit. That's the thing.
Yes. Well, no, obviously, but
Yeah.
that's what their argument would be. It's like, well, you still feel oppressed in this system. It's like, well, that's your problem.
Don't care. Dab.
And so what you have is the African heritage thing. So what you have a situation is effectively money would go to people who were never enslaved, actively took part in the slave trade, or I guess if you're Algerian or Moroccan, you would also be included in this. And again, their ancestors enslaved many people up and down the West Country coastline.
This is the argument that keeps being brought up. It's like, we didn't go and capture them in nets. We went and bought them from other black people.
Yeah,
yes.
Have you seen this spat between actual Africans versus African Americans on Twitter? It was so fucking funny. There was one guy who was like, "Yeah, my ancestors sold your ancestors to the white man for guns and horses. Fuck you."
I think you told me about this one.
Yeah,
I think that was my favorite. That's been so far my favorite moment on the Lotus Eaters was where Callum said, "Do you think this original slave traders were just the original woke people because they were supporting black owned businesses?"
I have to say, because I did a tweet actually not so long ago, talking about the sort of black identitarians. And I had a lot of Nigerians responding very positive towards me and like just taking this. Yeah. It was actually, I've noticed that a lot of the Nigerians are quite based, and then you have like it's really funny because like the black nationalist types in America don't know really how to respond. It's like you can't call them Nazis or racists, so you just they call them like Uncle Toms, I guess, but
that is like one of the most grim terms ever. It's literally saying race trader effectively. It's like Christ.
But then you have like Nigerians turn around and say, "Well, I'm more blacker than you, so get fucked," So
I mean, that's just intergroup dynamics, though. I mean, because obviously in Africa, there's just it's everyone around them is obviously going to be a black person. So again, they're going to separate based on other characteristics. So it's nationality. That's what takes precedence. Yeah. Just like in the UK, for instance, with Brexit, one of the areas the most heavily voted leave was Boston, and they had a lot of immigration from, say, Poland and other Eastern European countries.
I remember there was, during the Brexit referendum, there was a, and the clip is, this is where you see British culture on identity and the Americans clash in a big way. Bill Maher, is it Bill Maher?
The name sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, he was hosting a debate at that time, just after the referendum. This was like the time when Trump was doing quite well in the Republican primaries, like the first time, and it looked like that he was going to be the nominee. And you had these like on this chat show, you had like this one conservative like from UK, Louise Minchin, who joined the Democrats, another like useless Tory tosser that thankfully left the party. And she went over, and now she's like a bit of a failure in America. So who cares? But she went over, and she was actually quite pro Brexit at the time. And you had like these other like American leftists who were like there, and there's like one, and this really summed it up to me. He just said, "What's Britain's problem? They're just voting Brexit because they don't want any white guys there. What's wrong with them? Because they generally." British people were racist. Yeah, this is the thing, and it's like
you may have gotten that the wrong way around.
Sorry,
you said Britain's voting Brexit because they don't want any white people there.
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what he said, word for word. Because then his argument was that we weren't. That he says he didn't understand why racists were voting to get rid of white people. And it's like
the white people are in Europe.
What?
Yeah, I know. This is where people like in this country just didn't understand what the hell he was on about.
I'm so fucking confused.
Yeah, because here we go. This is where American and British culture collide. What you have, the reason why he said this is he thought that the British people and Brexit voters were racist, i.e., we wanted to remove all the Asians and blacks from the country. This is his narrow American mindset. And then when he found out that places like Boston and such, it was a high Polish immigration, and his mind, Polish are white, British people are white. Oh, you're voting to get rid of white people. Ah, you're bad racist. Ha ha ha.
Right. Okay.
So that was his.
He's just an idiot.
Yeah, but that's the left wing American thought.
In fairness, the left wing, UK approach was also you're racists who just want to get rid of black people. But just that bizarre stretch, I'm kind of blown away by that. I genuinely thought you misspoke and you meant to say it the other way around.
I'll try and post the I'll try and find it. I'll try and find it.
Play it on the stream if you can.
Yeah, I'll try and put it in. I'll put it below in the description after the stream. I'll see if I can find it because it's a real gem to watch actually because it's.
If you want to know the kind of psychology behind this, because I did a bit of research into it.
Oh.
Well, people essentially got two different kind of conflicting needs, and that is the need for inclusion and individuation. So, for example, everybody wants to be included as part of a group. Everybody wants to be in a group, and people do better within groups. For example, people tend to live longer if they live in groups. You would tend to be happier, less depressed. But at the same time, they also have the need to be individuals, and they want to be individual and distinct, right? And these needs are constantly clashing within individuals. So that's why actually you tend to find some groups more than others actually within certain societies are more likely to identify with their certain characteristics like their nationality or their race compared to others. Because if they're part of a prominent minority group, so it's a minority group which is large enough that you can still be part of a group, then it still gives you that. It means you can meet both your need for individuation and inclusion because you've actually got an out group. Then you can actually look at and say, well, I'm not part of this group. I'm distinct in some way, while also being an individual.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's quite interesting.
So that's why that group of race is very salient in America, but in England, it's nationality because both them groups are also non-transferable. So if a group is non-transferable, it means you can't move between the boundaries, and if you can't move between the boundaries, you then become more committed to your group because there's no way of leaving, and therefore your own destiny is tied in with your group destiny.
Yeah, that makes.
Yeah, I did a bit of research into it, so yeah.
I mean, that makes sense, especially with America, because they have. I mean, because like the ethnicities of Europe intermix to such an extent that the only division is between races. So races in the sense of white, brown, black peoples of color and all that crap that comes from them. I don't mind if America wants to have that as their division in society. I mean, personally, I would say to you that's not a healthy division to have because, what about rich black people and poor white people? I mean, that it seems like a very narrow-minded worldview. Also, Americans don't apply it to countries outside of your republic because it doesn't have any foundational basis in Europe. As I said, my footstool is older than your founding fathers. So,
I mean, when you brought up rich African Americans, that's a good point because also there was also some other research on this that showed that I believe that most people. So they did a study on African American communities, right, and about how committed they were or how much they felt they had in common or shared destiny with other black people, and what they found the optimal kind of percentages of people in the community who were the same race as them was between 30 to 70% in that they felt they had a common kind of destiny with them. Where if you grew up, say, for example, an extreme minority of other black people or in a super majority, you would feel like you had virtually nothing in common with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I think one of the big misconceptions, and this is where the problem of our current age is, there's a very small percentage of America, probably of America and Britain and West in general, these people are on Twitter, and these are the people that are their voices and their worldviews being projected into the mainstream disproportionately. I think, I mean, there's I think when it comes to like, I don't want to say black culture, but that, as Americans would describe it in the US, black culture is very much African Americans who live in the coastal states, so like California or New York or what have you, the coastal, like Philadelphia and what have you. But when you actually see what goes like the African Americans in, you don't hear what happens in the Deep South or the Rust Belts. And in many ways, it's quite a different one because, like at the last election with Trump, a lot of them in some of those states, even in like California, LA County, there was a big shift away from Trump and your generic Democrats to the Republican Party and to Donald Trump. So there was a big like voter shift as well.
I'll be right back.
From a few certain counties in those 4 to 5 states.
Yeah, I mean that is interesting as well.
Yeah. I mean, we'll probably wrap this up in a sec. I was just trying to think what else. We'll probably finish off here now, I guess. So that was Bristol City Council. We'll see where that goes. I think personally, I think there are plenty. I mean, there are plenty of rich right-wing Tory-based people living in rural Somerset around there. They could just take the council to court for being racist or something. If all else fails, I think though, I don't think. I think what they're doing is illegal. If I'm absolutely honest, I can't, because you would have to say, okay, all white people in Bristol, you have to pay an extra bit on tax to give to all the brown and black people in Bristol. I don't even think that's legal. It can't be legal, surely.
I don't see how it could be illegal. I just don't see how they can do it, because there must be something in UK law.
We have the Equality Act, which I do think covers all races.
Oh, no, it doesn't. You're allowed to, of course, exclude white people. So you can actually say that you can make essentially exceptions for like minorities or essentially any group that isn't white people or white British people specifically.
I was thinking of legislation that was like in this. I mean, I guess you say our equivalent to the civil rights stuff, but we didn't need civil rights, but equality in the sense of discrimination. You can't discriminate against a race. Like when I say like in this country, our discrimination was basically we wouldn't allow Irish people into pubs and restaurants. That was
with good reason.
Bring back.
They kept blowing them up.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Complaining about not having potatoes.
I do like the fact that apparently there was some conservatives back in the day when that vote came through to basically say, you know, you can't say no Irish, no blacks, no dogs.
Blacks, no dogs, no Irish in that order.
Yeah, in that order, yeah. And in the pub, and there were like some conservatives that were running around saying, "Oh, this is political correctness gone mad."
That's so good.
There was like one interview where there's like one conservative who was really like getting absolutely pissed off with it. It was like, "Well, I'm not going to the pub now. It's ruined."
And now they allow blacks, dogs, and Irish.
Yeah. Actually, one of my local museums, they still have that sign from the local pub, the local Tudor pub.
Wow.
I might try and find it.
Right, you've got me for another 5 minutes, and then I'll have to dash.
Yeah. So we'll probably wrap it up here and let Zenn get off. And so, anything you guys want to add, like Shill, for your channel at all? Anything coming up?
I'm going to be live on Twitch in a minute.
Not really. If I'm honest.
I keep meaning to do an anime thing, but the level
Yeah, I
of
do have
editing
something to
it's
show
gonna
now. Don't go and watch that.
take, the level of editing it's going to take fucking ages.
Okay. Next, I think, when is it? What week are we on? Okay, so not next week, but the week after, I'm on a stream with is it His Apostolic Majesty or something like that?
Guy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with him, and we're doing a debate with whether or not the American wars of independence, the Revolutionary Wars of Independence, was a good thing or a bad thing. So,
Have you got there's a guy called Misesian Imperator, or he used to be Chicago Liberal. He's a bit of an American loyalist.
yeah, Chicago Liberal. Yeah, he's massively American loyalist. The people, I've got the guess here, but I won't say because I don't want to spoil it. But
No, that's fair enough.
I'm on the side of no, it shouldn't have happened.
Very good. I would expect nothing less.
Yep. So that's the side I'm on. There's people, obviously, there's two other people there who believe it was a good thing or the right thing, and there's one other person who's on my side who is who I've spoken to, who is we've got a plan of action.
God, America's been the worst superpower of all time, and yet you gotta make the case it was a good thing.
No, I'm making the case for the bad thing.
Yeah, I know you are, but how can anyone actually make the case it was good? Look at them. They're a mess. They've got Joe Biden as the president.
Absolute state in America.
I mean, I tell you what, if you've been paying attention politically for the last couple of months, and you had any notions of in your mind that maybe we should become a republic, I hope that's all being dispelled, because frankly,
it's coming. I will say within the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to have parties running as their platform. That's my prediction.
Well, don't the Greens already do that?
As in, like, Labour or the Lib Dems?
Yeah, the Labour Party.
The Lib Dems are filled with Republicans. The Greens are openly Republican, and the Labour Party are, Republican. So yeah,
well, the Tories basically are.
I don't think the Tories are Republican. No.
If it got them power, I reckon they go for it.
Julie and Hartley Brewer, their favourite ideal talk radio atheist, G is a big Republican. Yeah.
Who's a big Republican?
Julie Hartley Brewer.
Yeah, but she's not conservative though. She is a.
She's as close to a conservative radio host as we've got.
No.
She's always lumped in with that crowd though, like in the public sort of like.
Well, the media love. Yeah, but the fucking media love. Fucking Tobias Elwood as like your standard bearer for the Conservative Party. No one can stand him. He's an absolute. I mean, he's an absolute. Right. I'm going to say like our rhino. I mean, he's not even the
same with Tom Harwood. Can't forget him. That little crap.
Yeah, I mean, I think is first of all, if the Conservative Party is still on the ticket of becoming abolishing the monarchy, even after Queen Elizabeth passes away and you have Charles on the throne, it would not happen in the party, because like the foundation of the party is unionism, pro-monarchy, and everything else. I mean, take the Conservative principles away from a second. They would not do it for multiple reasons. One of the big reasons is the Conservative Party isn't a revolutionary party. To abolish the monarchy, it would have to be it would be a revolutionary act.
What if it's the obvious prevailing public opinion that would be electable?
No.
If the media and universities have pushed it to that extent, it's already. If you ask most people my age right now, they probably don't see the point in the monarchy and would be okay with getting rid of it.
Look, we've seen them do far more batshit things. We've literally seen the police doing dancing around.
Yeah, exactly.
Gay pride flags in their cars, and yet they won't abolish the monarchy. It's like, no. They're
going to abolish everything else.
They're not even anti-radical. We live in a radical world. Look at
why not finish the job, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, like with the police and everything, I mean, that's just the Conservative Party or the government just incompetent because Westminster is a heavily incompetent place, and because power is being devolved to such an extent locally, that sort of shit can go down quite easily, unfortunately. When it comes to monarchy, though, that would actively, if a Conservative government came in and they abolished the monarchy, they would have to actually win on that platform. But the problem is, no one.
Yeah, but they'd only do it if they could win on that platform.
Yeah, but they wouldn't.
They're not Labour or as you say, they're anti-radical.
Okay, hold on a second. First of all, when it comes to a prevailing public opinion, usually prevailing public opinion is not really set above 50%. It gets to that when there's a campaign behind it in a referendum, say. If you took support for leaving the EU in 2014 or 2015, a couple of years before the actual referendum, if you actually look at public opinion, if we had the referendum then, we would have remained with easily like 70% to 30%, probably even more than that. So
yeah, so what I'm saying is that the argument is going to enter the mainstream in the same way that the Brexit argument wasn't even considered in 2008.
I don't think it would. Well, I don't think it would be.
We're going to have to find ourselves finding good arguments in favour of the monarchy soon, because it's going to start being.
But the thing is, okay, it'll enter. I'm certain it will enter Labour and the Lib Dems and the Greens because they've always asked for it. But at the same time, I don't think it would enter Labour at the moment. Number one, Labour's experimenting with the Blairite 2 project, so I don't think it's going to enter there. Lib Dems are at this stage still politically irrelevant, so they can do what they want. Same with the Greens.
Yeah, but they may be politically irrelevant, but they're espousing all of the same opinions as the media and the universities, the education system.
Yeah, but
I'm talking by the time the current 8-year-olds are ready to vote,
Well, I just don't see it happening because from what I can see, the media is usually behind the monarchy in the sense of they like the mystery of it, especially the American media.
They do kind of treat it as a given, but it's also this kind of quaint, funny little thing that doesn't really matter,
Right,
I just don't agree because I don't think we will reach that stage of openly in favour of becoming a republic, just on the basis of, I
honestly can't see it not entering the conversation.
It would have to be AstroTurf to the fucking max to make
you think it. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
do you not think it would be?
No, I don't think it would be. Look at Black Lives Matter. Okay, let's take Black Lives Matter because that's the recent one.
Joe Biden is now president.
Yeah, but forget America. Forget America because we're not in America. We'll talk about Britain for a moment.
Fortification.
Yeah, talk about Britain for a minute.
Well, yeah.
Black Lives Matter. Where is Black Lives Matter now? Okay, they've destroyed a statue.
But they had no aim in England. They were just an offshoot.
Mm-hmm.
They never meant anything.
Black Lives Matter UK had funding from HSBC, Goldman Sachs,
but they didn't have any goal. Is the point?
They were just kind of there.
They were there to smash. They were there to smash up a statue, and they did it. So
these companies sat there and just gave them money because they were there, and it was a good virtue signal.
Yeah, but their goal was to basically get government to implement their Marxist policies.
Okay, and now we have the Bristol slavery debate where they're saying they want to tax white people.
Yeah, but this is different. Hang on, that's a bit of a straw man there. Have they actually influenced Westminster policy directly? Westminster, and not talk about devolve because this is the problem. Yes, okay to criticise, but that's a critique on devolution, and I will happily say that. Yeah,
no, I'm saying the argument is there. That's what I'm saying. The argument is there for it to be grabbed hold of. Whereas 10 years ago, the argument of abolishing the monarchy was insane. The argument of locking everyone in their houses was insane. The argument of leaving the EU was insane 20 years ago.
Well,
but they still did it.
When you had
it's still insane now.
Flu. I remember when you had the swine flu fear, was it 10 years ago now? there was talk about even back then when it was feared that it was going to come over and it was going to go through the population of schools being shut down and people being locked in. I think even back in, I think, to be honest, if COVID happened in 2010, I think the lockdowns would have been even stricter in many ways.
What was it? Blair had just left, I guess. No, it's Brown.
Yeah,
I really
yeah.
need to go.
All right,
I
see you,
really
man.
need to go. I'm half an hour late. Ta-ra,
Okay,
it's
yeah,
been lovely
you
being
go.
here. Bye-bye.
Okay.
See you soon.
Right.
That guy really needs to go.
I guess this is my personal experience coming out, but I'm finding myself having to defend it a lot, and it's getting like in a way that I never had to before.
What, the monarchy stuff?
Yeah, and I have to really kind of know my stuff when it comes to arguing in favor of it.
I mean,
It's not an argument I'm used to having.
Academics, like even for over 100 years now, there's always been Republican elements within academia, and sentiment of republicanism has always been. You could arguably say that, like, you go back to the Victorian period, that was when we had, like, amongst most of the classes, people were pretty much in favor of becoming a republic. Even elements of the media back then. Until the monarchy was able to adapt for that.
Well, you could, if you look on the long term, they've gone from being pretty absolute 300 years ago, or ish, 400 years ago. Like, obviously, they still have parliament or whatever, but it was. Nowadays they're nothing. There's barely any point in them being here. Like, if But the natural progression is to them not being here. Like, what else can they get rid of?
Well, I don't know if it's natural progression of them not.
It's the path of history that it seems to be taking is a downwards progression for the last 300 years.
Yeah, but if you say world monarchies, most of the world monarchies.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, but most of the world monarchies went because we told them to go. Though it wasn't like popular revolutions got rid of them.
America also told them to go as well.
Yeah, but that was
America has a big influence.
That's an independence movement. The monarchy wasn't like native to America.
No. Sorry, I mean America telling the other countries that they have to leave.
Oh yeah, and like also like the Woodrow Wilson was.
It was the whole decolonialization. It was part of that.
Yeah, Woodrow Wilson was also actively involved in removing the Tsar and helping the Soviets gain power. He was actively involved in that. So, I would say to you, yes, if there was a massive like CIA psyop to undermine the monarchy in this country, I would agree with you. Then yes, that would. We probably would be on the course of the republic. But I would think, and this is where I would go, if there was a period when that would happen, I think we would descend into a civil war, or some like violent stages.
Honestly, we've said that so many times, and nothing even approaching that has materialized.
I think with Brexit, I think it was close. I think Brexit.
Civil war, really?
No,
not civil war. No, not civil war, but like violence. I think that what that was.
I honestly, I think people are just too comfortable now to do that.
I reckon in a way, but it would. I get what you mean, that it could have been a start of a long chain of events, especially if they had a second referendum and a lot of
like an insurgency, in this day and age.
Not an insurgency, but you just have a lot of people who would actually. No. Shaitori is correct, because again, this is another kind of psychological thing. If people actually don't believe the system actually responds to them at all, then they are more likely to protest in non-conventional means.
Yeah, what would happen? It would be non-conventional protests. It would be, and then what you would expect a response from the system to be overly brutal, and then you'd be hoping for like an Arab Spring-esque style response in return. When I say, it wouldn't be like open revolution, so it would basically, it'd be very similar to what you had like Black Lives Matter in America, where you had like protests springing up in certain areas, and it would be notable. It wouldn't be the majority, because that's the thing when it comes to revolutions or civil wars or rebellions, you never really get like 50% of the country on your side.
What I would think is actually be quite similar to was potentially. Have you ever studied like the unionist strikes in Northern Ireland, where they just closed all the industries in the 1980s?
Yeah, in the
and only
70s.
allowed key workers to work, kind of like we have now, but they just did it for.
Yeah, I mean, something like that would be the closest thing to like civil disobedience, where it did have an actual effect on the economy and the government.
If you take, for example, as I said, I live in Kent. Pretty much all of Kent voted to leave, apart from one or two areas. If, for example, Dover, especially, was a leave place, if they had just, let's just say a load of leavers just blockaded Dover and essentially create their own kind of like the DUP did, and just create their own kind of like fighting force and just blocked all the roads and put people coming in.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this: when it came to the Brexit Party and Farage, I would definitely say that the Brexit Party was able to mirror what Trump and the GOP were able to do with getting support out there in like huge stadiums, getting people out onto the streets. Because I saw like a lot of Brexit Party activists when I went. Where was it? Where I went to Wales. That was it. When I went to Wales. I saw quite a few on the street just before the election. I did see people out and about. So I think you could get people mobilized to do like protests if say. But I was thinking more on the line of Conservative Party folds and they just announced that Brexit isn't happening and we're just staying in the EU and continue life as normal. Something like that, some like scenario like that would probably trigger something pretty nasty, because then you're right, because then the system won't respond to them. And you can't I just can't imagine there would be no response from people.
I think maybe I'm more black-pilled than you on that. Then
I think more people were more emotionally invested into leaving the EU than remaining.
I think there was emotionally invested people on both sides. I agree with you that there was a very loud and I'd say smaller amount of people that were emotionally invested in remaining in the EU. That was constantly gaslighted into every Remainer was loved being in the EU so much they would actually protest and everything. But I think that you're correct. I reckon that there was a lot more people who I spoke to who were just, because to vote to leave the EU was a really big thing, considering how it was just a complete rejection of almost the entire establishment.
Yeah. And there's also, when it comes to revolutions or like civil conflicts, it also coincides with like how does your opposition behave. So like, let's just say in scenario, the government stops Brexit, we remain. The Remainers go out on the streets and celebrate, and then the overzealot Remainers decide that we need to start actively going into these towns and these places that voted for Brexit and teach them why their opinions are wrong, like some mad sort of overzealot cultist worshipping the state. And then you have a situation where confrontation, and and an example I would say similar to that, again, Northern Ireland or Rwanda or the Eastern Bloc, places like that.
I'm struggling to see English people as having that kind of streak in them. I don't know.
I think
it would be more difficult because it's not in our nature, but it's
really not.
But it's also the fact that it's almost, you do see it coming up over and over and over again across the world. So it's just something that's really programmed into people. So then it's kind of like something just biologically will just kill.
I honestly could just see the British people getting just gaslit into whatever. Like they've seen it with the COVID stuff. Like you don't need to go out and you don't need to be locked in your home.
I mean,
and
COVID
people don't care.
COVID is different. I think naturally it's different because that's just that's a medical thing, and it's also the majority do support.
I think where people gaslit is because it's science, and and for people, like, science is like the new religion. There's only certain people that can talk about the science.
Okay, well, if we've got a new religion that's science, what does the science say about having a monarchy?
Doesn't we have you're a scientist, you tell me.
I'd say people. Well, it's happened already through the past. Like, people have pitched it as being more rational and scientific to have things like democracies and republics and that. And it's the French Revolution,
Yeah, well, yeah, but then but then the response is where the argument, apply it like that. But then you ask, well, okay, well, democracy basically means you could end up being ruled by effectively 3%, or the will of, or actions will be delivered which only affect 3% of the population.
Yes, and that's what we spent the whole of the EU things arguing in favour of democracy.
Yeah, but at least with a constitutional democracy, it's not exactly on just the mob of people. It's actually divided up into constituencies which are equally represented in land mass and population.
Yeah, but we haven't had the Queen or the monarch hasn't had much power since World War II. We've been basically a republic in all but name since then, haven't we? What have they done? Like, what do they even do anymore? As I said, the march of history is anti-monarchy, and it's been that way for hundreds of years. I don't see what the progression is. Do you want them to get more powerful? Because I'd be okay with that, but I don't see that happening.
Well, I mean, at the moment, no.
How are you going to grant them more powers?
At the moment, legislation hasn't been taken away from the monarch's power. It's just, I mean, the current monarch hasn't enacted power.
Sure, and that's not a criticism of monarchy. That's a criticism.
I would say.
No, I'm clarifying for anyone watching. I know you know that.
Charles would probably behave differently than the current.
Oh, he started implementing all like climate shit. Yeah, I don't doubt that.
So he'll be like, whatever it is, like whatever the topic, he'll just be involved. And I mean, in theory, he could veto powers. In theory, I think that the problem with it is, and this is where it goes into, because when the monarchy was restored with Charles II, he did have to sign away a lot of executive powers.
It happened with William of Orange as well. He had the Bill of Rights, declared the powers of the monarch and the people, the rights of the monarch and the people.
Yeah, same with William of Orange. I mean, so you could argue by that logic that we sort of stopped when we stopped being an absolute monarchy at that point.
Good cough. Some people would argue that, yes.
Yeah, I mean, but then you had, in that instance, the empire itself. If you were a subject in the empire, say like in India, you were ruled by the monarch, which was absolute monarchy.
Yes.
The same within Africa colonies. I mean, it's too late at night to go through the absolute legal definitions of the constitutional aspect of the monarchy's roles. I know that to open parliament, it has to be done by the monarch. I know that when legislation has to be passed, it goes through the Commons, the Lords, and then the final royal assent, i.e. the Queen or King or whoever at the time sign off on it. And they do have the powers to refuse to sign it.
Yes, but they're never going to because there's an imbalance of power they can't exercise their power, which they have, whether rightly or wrongly. They can't exercise the power because Parliament will come down on them like a ton of bricks.
Well, yeah, because then the argument would be...
So there's an imbalance of power then if one side can't use their power that they are supposed to have. De jure, but they can, but de facto they can't.
Well, no, because then you have the courts would be the next stage, which would be like the arbiter between that.
And the idea of a monarch going to court?
Yeah, monarchs have been taken to court. I mean, multiple times. Henry VIII was taken to court over land dispute. It does happen. I mean, it's not not something out of the question. But the problem is where our courts are different to America. The American courts are just politicized between Democrat judges, Republican judges.
But do you honestly think the courts now, like the Blairite Supreme Court, do you honestly think they wouldn't be political?
Oh yeah,
about it?
listen. I don't want the Blairite Supreme. In my ideal world, Blairite Supreme.
Yeah, but
Court,
we're not in your ideal world. Like, if everything being as it is now, if the monarch was taken to court, and it would go to the Supreme Court, presumably, if we assume that, and it's not going to rule in their favour, is it?
Well, it depends. I mean, it depends what the subject matter is on. But if, say, there was a genuine dispute between the Queen and Parliament, ultimately, it probably would come down to Parliament would have the final say on it.
Let's remember, Joss, they did not let Shamima Begum back in. So again, they're not cucked and everything.
Brilliant. Wow, that a small victories go, that is a tiny fucking victory.
Yeah.
It's a great meme.
Well, it's quite easy victory because she has dual citizenship with Bangladesh. So
yeah, it's a bit of an open shut case,
Yeah, I mean, it's like
there's not really much you can be political about there.
No, I know there's some people that are saying, "Oh no, she doesn't have dual citizenship," and here's why. It's like, no, she does.
I don't care.
Even if she doesn't, I know the courts are supposed to care, but I don't think I would. International law says you can't be stateless. Well, fuck international law. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't. The UN isn't sovereign, so fuck off. There you go.
International law is just pointless because how do you enforce it?
Well, the UN army.
Yeah, but how do you enforce it though?
Well, I mean, that's how it's supposed. That's how it's supposed to be. Is the UN army? That's why they have an army.
Yeah, but we've got a permanent seat on the council. So motion, we in theory we could commit the state could commit a war crime tomorrow, and then go into and then they can vote. UN can vote to investigate it, and we just veto it, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean that's what China and Russia do daily, especially China.
Yeah.
I mean, Britain and France haven't used their veto stuff. I think last time either of them used it was in 1990. And I mean, I know America's used it over Israel a couple of times. But France, China use it most, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I'll probably wrap this up now. So thank you, Zenn, for joining us. Thank you, Joz and Pman, for joining the stream as well. And thank you, everyone in chat, for coming on. And I'll see you all probably for next week's episode of the Blob Watch. Whenever that will be, I'll let everyone know. But until then, I'll see you all later.
See ya.
Yeah.
Bye.